Craig Overton is warming up on the outfield. He's getting ready to bowl. India 112 for 1, 242 behind, so they've still got some work to do with the bat. Plenty of time left in this match for England to try and get 9 more wickets. That's what they need in the first instance. So 3 slips are behind Pujara. He's on 40 as Overton is in. He's got some width and he's looking to cut, but into the ground and only as far as cover. But looking to score straight away, offered a ball just back of a length and a little bit of width as well. Hello to Deep Dasgupta.
Hello, Ali.
Well, what do you make then of the partnership so far? It was pretty solid. You know, there were some questions asked. Certainly, England have been searching with the ball. Sharma should have been out LBW, but these two so far holding firm for India as Overton is in again, and this has been slashed away behind point for 4. So that's a fine way to pick up the scoring after the tea interval. Let's put a smile on your face, Deep.
Absolutely. It's so good to see Pujara in this kind of a mindset when he's looking to score runs. I mean, last couple of deliveries, he's missed out on the last one, didn't really time it, but this one again off his back foot, gets on top of the bounce, places it beautifully, opening the face of the bat. And that's how he's looked right through this innings so far. This is a very, very important innings for Pujara. It seems like every time he goes out to bat now, it's an important innings.
He's on to 44 now. Overton in going full, and it's defended, kept well out by Pujara. He's got such a battling mindset, hasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, we know him for his long, stoical innings, which, you know, he's the ideal batsman for India, being so far behind in the game. But also, when he's able to score and looking more fluent as well, he's plays such classical strokes.
And that's the mindset, isn't it? If you're mentally positive and looking to score runs, invariably you'll get into the right positions.
Big figure of Overton is in. It's dabbed away behind square on the offside. Hamid is moving across to his right from backward point to field. Backward point, forward point, mid-off and mid-on. Hamid more perhaps at a short third position, is retreating a little more. 3 slips in place still as England look to start making some inroads if they can in this evening session. So we've still got 37 overs of this one in the day. Play can go until 6:30. Overton turns at the end of his mark. In now, past the umpire, up to the stumps, bowling full, and Pujara forward, all over the ball, and able to switch between attacking shots when given the opportunity, to then back to that solid defence.
Yeah, even the defence, as you mentioned, it's a lot more firm. It's not a dead bad defence that we've seen Pujara do so far in this series. There is a lot more intent when you look at that body language, even his defensive shots.
144 and waiting for Overton. He's in now full once more. That's come from more the inside half of the bat, up to mid-on. But he's still looking to come forward and looking to follow through with the shot. It's the end of the over then, 116 for 1, India 238 behind. Isha Goa is coming in to join you, Deep. She's just been out filming a link, I think, for the highlights programme, which will be on BBC Two from 7 o'clock tonight. So here's Isha. First is more from Deep.
Thank you, Ali. Yeah, India just need a few more sessions like the one they had previous one, wicketless. You can't be really thinking about the whole test match or the result when you're batting out there and when you're as behind as India is in this test match. Really need to do is take one spell at a time, one bowler at a time, play out a spell, be as positive as possible mentally. I was mentioning about Pujara being positive, easier said than done. When you're under pressure, just to keep all those negative thoughts out of your head and be positive and attacking. And credit to Pujara the way he's approached this inning so far. The timing, it's Robinson and to bowl to Rohit as Isha boxing.
Hi, Deep. Robinson bowling after tea is Sharma. Pushes the ball to extra cover. Hazib Hamid comes in to throw the ball at the stumps, and Cheteshwar Pujara gets back in time. Rohit on 59 then. India 116 for 1, trailing by 238. Pujara on 44. There was a moment in that second session, the afternoon session, where Rohit was struck on the pad by Ollie Robinson. He was on 39 at the time. And he was given not out. Joe Root decided to take it upstairs, but the countdown clock had clicked out as Robinson is in again to Sharma, defends to the offside. And the ball tracking showed that it was going on to hit the stumps. So huge frustration from an England point of view, because 2 down into the tea break. And a chance to bowl at Virat Kohli before tea as well, with the gloomier conditions that they are at the moment. Would have been a real threat. As it is, he's still out there.
These small moments in the game, or rather big moments in the game. One was the Rohit Sharma DRS not taken.
As Robinson bowls wide of the off stump, shaping delivery away from the right-hander.
And the other one was Pujara coming on to bat. First 10 deliveries that he faced, 3 of them were half volleys on the bat. Straight away you're under pressure and you get 3 boundaries off your legs and you suddenly feel a lot better.
I get the feeling as well that Pujara generally, when he bats second in a test match, he tends to score quicker anyway. Andy, I don't know if there's a way of having a look at that as Robinson bowls full, struck on the pads, this looks close, it's given. And Robinson turns to the sky, he pumps the air. Rohit Sharma, this might be you done, even though he's gone up for the review.
TV umpire to director. We have a player review for LBW. Original decision is out. It's a fair delivery. So can we have a look at front on, please?
Look quite straight though.
Richard Illingworth, the third umpire. Hearing the voice of him.
Okay, just rock that back.
Is there any bat involved? I don't think there is.
Okay, passes close to the bat there. Can we have a look at Ultradge, please?
Ultradge will confirm that there isn't any bat.
Okay, flat line, roll it through. Still a flat line all the way through to the pad.
No bat involved.
Ball tracking when ready, please.
Strikes him on the knee roll, front knee roll. He's stepping forwards.
Okay, impacting line, pitch in
Umpire's call.
Wickets, umpire's call. Go back to Richard on field to say it was original decision. We're on screen now.
Well, it's a tough decision. It could have gone one way or the other because it was given out. Going on to hit the leg stump, but with minimal parts of the ball. It was just clipping. And so that decision stands. If it had been given not out, it would have stayed not out. So Rohit Sharma, despondent as he's trudging off the field. And jubilation for England, who have an early breakthrough after the tea break.
Yeah, as a batter, you've got to feel, because that was just clipping leg stump.
Well, we have an intruder on the field.
Is it Jarvis again?
It's a man.
Jarvis, sorry.
It's a man in whites with pads, a bat, who's just dropped his glove by the stumps. He's wearing a mask and he's now being ushered off the field of play. The England players standing in disbelief, actually, as he's being pulled away by the stewards. It's providing the crowd with some entertainment, but not so much the players. As Virat Kohli, in all that drama, has appeared out in the middle alongside Pujara. And the ground announcer as well, just having a word with the crowd. You're right, it's just held up play for a little bit there as Johnny Bairstow runs out to kick the glove off the pitch. COVID rules still stand, of course. So Virat Kohli, who is under pressure in this series, out in the middle. I'd be interested to see how he approaches this. We talked about this a little bit earlier with Michael. There's 2 ways he could go. Either he resorts back to 2018, where he was super disciplined outside the off stump and his strike rate comes down and he just looks to be as defensive as possible, or he continues to play the way he has been. can guarantee that England are going to tempt him. 3 slips in position then. Lights on here at Headingley. Day 3. Indian captain under pressure. Ollie Robinson at the top of his mark. Places the ball in his right hand. Pushes away now on an angle. Virat Kohli back and across. Forward defends. A really good length delivery just outside the off stump. The slip cordon applaud that delivery as well, because it's the perfect one to Coley first up.
Yeah, I think he needs to go back to what he was doing in 2018. That worked beautifully for him. Hasn't been a good series so far. Just one score of 40 so far in the series.
Yeah, naught. Jimmy Anderson getting in first ball, 42-20. As Robinson bustles in, closer to the stumps, bowls outside the off stump. Coley leaves. Saw that one early. Lovely shape on the ball away from the right-hander. He definitely got in tight there, Robinson. So India 116 for 2, trailing by 238. Pujara on 44. And the Indian captain is out there. Andy?
Rohit Sharma's final figures 59 from 156 balls with 1 6 and 7 fours. His 21st 50-plus score in Test cricket in 42 Tests, but remains without a century outside India. And in terms of runs per ball, it's the slowest of his 21 50-plus scores. On the DRS, deep. I mean, I don't know. Isha, you can maybe think about the physics of it as a scientist. Would it have knocked the bail off?
As Overton bowls now to Pujara, who defends outside the off stump.
I agree with what you're saying, Andy, because obviously the ball would have hit the stumps or flicked the stumps and would have taken the bails off. But had the umpire not given him out, would have stayed not out then, isn't it? So I do understand. I mean, you got a feel for the players, but then you do also understand that DRS was introduced to get rid of the howlers, not really those 50-50 calls. So I'm actually all right with that whole concept of the umpire's call.
Overton past the stumps to Pujara on the back foot, passing the ball to the offside. Coley sets off but is sent back by Pujara as cover runs in. 3 slips then for Pujara here for Overton, who has bowled really well today. 1 for 22 into his 12th over. He's bowled really good areas. So it took him a couple of overs to get that line and length right, but he's looked zippy, he's looked fit, definitely looking a lot trimmer in this series as he's forward, shuffling in. Bowls now down the leg side to Pujara. But in general, getting that ball talking off the pitch, both away and in.
But going back to the Virat discussion, and remember you were there as well, 3 of us, including Michael, we were talking about Virat and the way he's been getting out. I think more than anything else, it's just the mindset. He needs to just calm himself down, relax a bit as Anderson gets ready as soon as Virat's out to bat. He's warming up.
He's actually off the field at the moment as Overton bowls to Pujara, who's pushing at 1 outside the off stump to the offside, no run.
I guess he would have stayed out for a few more overs did Virat not come out to bat. But yeah, I mean, it's just that feels like he looks a lot more anxious to get bat on ball, to get into those 30s, 40s very early. So when you're not amongst runs, that's one of the way you can approach. Like, just get into those 30, 40 early and then try and settle down.
This series, 25 balls, Anderson to Coley, 2 dismissals, averaging 5. Coley as Pujara tucks this one to mid-wicket, no run off Overton. So, yeah, he is warming up. Looking forward to this battle resuming. Out first ball to Jimmy Anderson in the very first game.
Yeah, even 2018, I remember, the difference was the very first innings he got 100, Virat. It was a drop opportunity of Anderson in 2018 as well, very first innings.
Joss Buttler.
Was it Butler or
Yeah.
Jennings?
Oh, was it? Jennings.
Yes.
As Overton is into Pujara, who clips it out to deep backward square. Robinson pushing off the boundary, accelerates quickly, gets the ball in and will pick up a single. So Pujara moves to 44, trailing by 237. Here comes Jimmy Anderson then onto the field, and the crowd will erupt, I'm sure. And they get to see this battle again.
Now the question is, who does Jimmy Anderson replace? Because Robinson's bowling well, so is Overton. So which end would he come from, Jimmy Anderson?
Well, I think he's enjoyed bowling from the rugby stand end more this test match. He had that phase from the Kirksall Lane end in the afternoon session. I think he went for a few runs. So here comes Robinson again on an angle to Pujara, who leaves outside the off stump. Significant movement in the air. And a good shape away from the right-hander. The crowd have just mellowed ever so slightly. You see James Anderson down there at mid-off with a big red stain down the right-hand side of his trousers. He's been doing some serious work on that ball as he receives it now and tosses it straight to Robinson. Robinson pushes away now into his gallop. Bowls. Pujara guides the ball in front of point. Hamid comes through and he's sent back by Coley. Pujara definitely a lot more intent to score here, and we've seen the whole series from Pujara.
True. And it's good to see him. This is how he used to bat when Pujara's in form. A couple of shots that he hit today, the cover drive, then the back foot punch. Generally haven't seen Pujara play those shots in the last year and a half.
A grey blanket of cloud above as Robinson approaches the crease wide, and again that shape away that Pujara leaves. Lovely length that he's bowling at the moment, Robinson. He's been getting some prodigious movement, and we're into the 50th over here with this ball. Very challenging conditions for the Indian batters, but that's the test of playing here, Deep.
Absolutely. And been very, very good, the English bowlers, especially in the second, even though the sample size in the first wasn't that big. But they've been very disciplined.
Robinson, good rhythm. Bowls again outside the off stump with again that shape. Very Angus Fraser-like as he comes through there. Shape away from the right-hander. Pujara again just raising his bat, allowing it to go through. Getting some good work on that ball. Johnny Bairstow this time. Well, what a catch that was earlier on to dismiss KL Rahul just before the lunch break. Diving one-handed to his left. He'll be feeling pretty happy with life in that slip cordon at the moment at second in between Joe Root and Craig Overton as Robinson is in, clipped off his hip. Pujara down to fine leg Moeen Ali position down there for a single. Going slightly straighter on that occasion, Robinson. 118 for two, then 236 that India trail by. Pujara 46, and Robinson will have one ball here to try and ruffle the Indian captain. Getting slightly darker here at Headingley. Those ominous looking clouds above. There's three slips, and they're going to stick in another one as well. Rory Burns is going to move into that position. Haseeb Hameed moves round to point, and a big gap through that offside. Here comes Robinson. Coley leaves outside the off stump off a good length.
That's more like him. That's more like Virat Kohli of 2018, letting those 6 stump, 7 stump deliveries go.
Well, yeah, it's fascinating to watch, isn't it? Great cricket that we've seen. A few more words from you, Deep, and then it will be Jonathan Agnew.
Yeah, you're mentioning about the overcast conditions. I mean, it's just adding to the whole drama. The next round of Jimmy Anderson versus Virat Kohli. These conditions here, obviously the crowd's waiting for that duel to begin. But at this point in time, it's going to be Pujara on strike and Overton to continue.
Good conditions for bowling at the moment, it seems. Floodlights are on. And Overton rushes in and bowls to Pujara. He bowls him a bouncer. We don't see many of those. Not really that sort of pitch. But anyway, there's a short one just to let him know that he's around. And it's taken by Joss Butler. But you can see the shadows of the floodlights now at the feet of all the players and the umpires. 4 of them. They're beaming down if you look up towards the grey skies. And quite a sort of chilly looking crowd in the sense that they're wearing dark overgarments, coats or sweatshirts, whatever it may be. Overton again runs in and bowls, and again he bowls short. That's a bit of a hack from Pujara, but he's pulled it for 4. Not one of the sort of emphatic hook shots that you see, but he got it away. And his 50 comes up, and that for him, well, I suspect it's worth 150 at the moment, because he's really struggled. And it's nice to see Virat Kohli there, giving more than just a little tap of the gloves, but a really vigorous shake of the hand, slaps on the back and everything else, because he really has had a bit of a crisis.
Yeah, and it's really good to see him again play those shots which he hasn't in a very long time. And this one again, he generally lets those short ones go, doesn't really have time to play at them.
Well, he's pushing forward now to a fuller ball from Overton, who's fielded by Curran at mid-on. He has played more shots today. I think we said at the time when he walked out, it's not just a question of any runs he scores, but the manner in which he scores them are going to be important for Pujara, because there is questions about his place, obviously. But he has come out and played quite freely, by his standards anyway, and Anderson fed him a couple there on the leg stump early on, and he put them away. So he got off to, by his standards, really a bit of a flyer, really. 122 for 2. He's on 50 not out, and Overton moves in and bowls to a poor ball that's down the leg side. Butler can't gather it. He won't come for 4 byes, but they'll pick up 1 there, a bit of a bonus. That's what Overton was trying to do there, but it came out of the hand a little bit awkwardly anyway. 123 for 2. Trying an in-swinger, I think, but he just got the line of that wrong. Chanting continues. There's a beach ball being battered about up there on the west stand as Coley comes down on strike to face his 4th ball. It's not yet off the mark, and they'll try and torment him just outside that off stump. Overton comes in, bowls trim, and there you go, perfect line, and Coley plays it well, lining it up, letting it go. He's just been a bit fidgety on that line in this series so far. It's brought about his downfall.
Yeah, and that's what he needs to be really careful. Be a little more patient and watchful outside off stump. Yes, I do understand he hasn't scored those big runs according to his standards, the benchmark that he set for himself, but that'll happen. It's about the process. Needs to get the process right.
Overton again on his way, moves in, bowls to the right-handed. Coley has an edge, but it lands comfortably in front of Burns at 3rd slip. But it wasn't a confident stroke. He's still finding his way and not yet off the mark. Andy.
Pujara's half-century came from 91 balls. It's his 48th 50-plus score in Test cricket. He has converted 18 of those previous 47 into centuries. It's his 10th 50-plus score against England. He has 500s amongst them. Only his 4th in 13 tests in England. A solitary century at Southampton on the last tour. Fine innings of 132 not out. And at 91 balls, it's his fastest Test half-century outside Asia in his entire career.
Well, he's played well. And particularly through the leg side, he's clipped the ball away off his pads. And England, whether they were trying to bowl particularly straight at him, I'm not sure, but I mean they did bowl straight at him, and he was able to work that ball away. Whether they had some sort of plan to try and trap him LBW or something, aim at that front pad, but he was away very quickly. Got a man out there on the hook, or just protecting the leg side boundary, whatever you prefer. Moeen's down in the distance as well at fine leg, and it's 123 for 2. As Robertson sets off again, and he bowls to Pujara's full, clips on the pad, peeled from behind the stumps, not out from here, and not out from the umpire's perspective either. And he signals that as a leg by. Root's asking the question, but they seem to be comfortably missing leg stump from our perspective here.
That tailed in quite sharply. I wonder if there's a hint of reverse there, but not looking at that replay. Doesn't seem like reverse. but yesterday saw the Indian bowlers reversing it just a little bit. Could be because of the surf, it's quite abrasive.
So Coley back on strike with 5 balls in this over. See if we can get off the mark. 4 slips waiting. Robertson moves in, bowls to the Indian captain. Lovely swinging delivery, but Coley ignores it. It started just a little bit too wide from Robertson's perspective, but the shape is there. See it swinging away. Those 4 slips all lined up, hoping for a misjudgment. Or a really good ball, of course, that Coley has to play. That's perfectly possible. Joe Root waves to the crowd, gets a cheer in return. As Robinson turns below us here, there's a pile of sawdust there, not entirely sure why. And Robinson moves in, bowls, and Coley gets on closer to his off stump, but again he can allow it to go by. 124 for 2. I think they're singing the Joe Root song over there, so they're trying to get another wave out of the England captain, but he's too busy polishing the ball at the moment. Rubbing it on his trousers.
I'm just trying to notice if Virat has made any adjustments in his trigger movement, or generally it seems like it's more of a mindset shift that he's got, leaving those deliveries again, being a lot more watchful this time around.
Coley's ready. Robinson moves in now and he bowls to him. Oh, wow, well, now there's a peel flag before wicket. That's very close indeed. Surely he's played no shot. It's brushed the pad. It's been given not out. Playing no stroke. The ball went through to the keeper. The timer is going. There's a lovely piece of bowling again, because following up those outswingers, 2-1-0, timed out. So we'll have the replay anyway. Did it come back enough? That's the question. Would it have hit the off stump? Or was it too high? Certainly it was a really good piece of bowling, because Coley was playing no stroke to it. Root was down on one knee there, appealing. Looking at it, no shot, missing wickets, going over the top of off stump. So a very good decision by the umpire. And wise of England not to review it, but a really good piece of bowling. I'd let Coley thinking now. Robinson's on his way and his bowls to him, and he follows it up with one that just swings away a shade. And Coley lets it go by. Lips pursed. Staring out through the grill of his helmet, looking at the crowd now, wandering about, waiting for Robinson to walk back to his mark. He is a fidgeter, Coley, fiddling with his gloves. Now he's coming up and doing a little pitch prodding.
And it's a funny thing, isn't it? If you're in that zone and you're scoring runs, you got runs behind you, don't fidget as much. But when you haven't, you tend to fidget a little more than usual.
Not a tall man, Coley, and quite slight. Waiting for Robinson now. In he goes once more with 4 slips there. That's a leading edge. Whoa, that could have gone anywhere, but in fact it's gone into a gap in the offside, and Coley's off the mark. He was trying to flick that away through mid-wicket. It's gone for leading edge, it's gone into the offside, and it's a no ball as well. So another one to the score. So 126 for 2. Comfortably overstepping there. Funnily enough, as you were working with us downstairs as well, Deep, where you get the pitch microphones in your ears, I quite clearly heard up by Kettleborough actually say to Robinson, you're getting tight, you're getting tight. So he's watching the no balls anyway on the front foot, just not calling them. Robinson again runs in, bowls on the off stump. Pujara plays it very, very late indeed. So late, in fact, that there was an appeal there from behind for leg before wicket for the ball hitting the pad first, but that's also been given not out. And there's a lot going on here. 126 for 2.
And I don't think he was actually going to play that ball. This ball came and hit his bat. There's no attempt as far as Pujara was concerned to play at it. It's Virat on strike now. Is there going to be a change in bowling now that Virat's on strike?
It is. There's Jimmy Anderson who's coming back. And there is a lot going on. You feel that India are fighting really hard. The ball's moving around. It's pretty dangerous out there for a batsman just trying to hang on in there. Lights are on. The light isn't great. And again, England have bowled very well in this innings. Challenged that off-stump area where India let themselves down a bit in the first innings. Been pretty relentless. And all the time with this crowd chanting, shouting. I'm not sure I'm going to use the word singing. It's not really singing. Anderson's back. He's bowling to Coley with 4 slips. In he comes now and bowls. That's a lovely, immaculate off drive from Coley, which sends the ball to Moeen, who's saving the single. But everything right about that. A good stride. Back was straight, right beside the pad. With a nice sound.
That's the thing about Virat. I mean, he's naturally a very confident person, even though he hasn't got as many as he would have wanted. But then you can see in his body language, yes, he's trying to make that mental adjustment. That hasn't worked for him so far, being more proactive, a little bit maybe over aggressive with his shot making.
Anderson from the far end bowls to Coley, poor ball, and he's flicked that away from leg stump for a boundary behind square in the leg side. Got that wrong. Anderson served up a bit of a gift there. Coley moves to 5. 130 for 2.
A little too greedy from Jimmy Anderson, trying to swing that ball from the stumps. But as Andy would remind me, physics might not allow that to happen, isn't it, Andy?
Physics and me are not friends.
I was going to say, what does Andy know about physics?
He did remind me about physics a while ago.
Here comes Anderson and bowls outside the off stump. And there's no stroke from Coley, raising the bat high. 130 for 2. So it's been a battle for him in this series so far. He's averaging fewer, in fact, than Jasprit Bumrah at the moment. That's saying something. Bumrah's at the dizzy heights of 20.
I guess Bumrah's averaging more than a few of the Indian top order batters, isn't he?
Most of the middle order. Bumrah's up there.
I'm sure Shami would be up there as well.
Yeah, well, Bumrah's averaging 20. 130 for 2. Anderson bowls. Coley can work that away into the leg side as well. Robinson will field below us here. That fine leg. One more to India's captain. Moves on to 6 from 14 balls, batting a long way out of his crease. And now Pujara's waving at the umpire, wants to check his guard. And umpire Wharf, where it's so loud out there, I don't know, but he wasn't hearing him. But now he's got him. Checked his guard. More raking going on. There's all sorts of things his batsman these days has measured something up there with his bat.
Yeah, because he's standing outside the crease for Jimmy Anderson, so you make sure that he's got the right guard outside the crease as well.
But why did he put his bat down to measure how? I don't know. That's all been interesting.
Just get a straight line, I guess.
I suppose so. Anderson on his way, bowls, and Pujara fields for that. Plays it very late. Runs the ball to third man. A chase for Hamid, who's very quick over the ground. He's going to dive, and he's just pulled that in. You know, he's done that a few times. Very, very quick. And he gets the ball just before it hits the boundary edge and scoops it back just in time. Brilliant piece of fielding. It's the timing. The timing of that slide gets it absolutely right there. I remember watching a few years ago now, here actually, from the old commentary box up there, some young members of a Pakistan touring team.
Yeah.
And the fielding coach, whoever it was trying to teach them this sliding, and they was all going off. They were totally mistiming. There were legs everywhere, arms everywhere. Young members of the squad trying to be taught how to do it, because it's not an easy thing. But Hamid's got it absolutely down to a T. Anderson bowls. It's a lovely punch out to wide mid-off. Good stroke from Coley. And he's going to get 4 for that. With Anderson again just over pitch. You won't be happy with that over at all. Picked off for 4 through the leg side, 4 through the covers. In fact, it was expensive over that. How many were off that?
12.
There we go.
That was a really good shot from Kohli. A shot that would give him a lot of confidence. He's got everything right there. Head over the ball, and, full face of the bat. Really good stroke from Virat.
Just walked into it, didn't he? Lovely stride. 138 for 2.
But just need to be a little careful here. Shouldn't get carried away with that shot as well. A couple of boundaries in the last over, because that's something that I guess we were talking about before as well. Just patience.
Yep. Robinson on his way, carrying those shadows with him. Is there any bowls short? Oh, that's very, very cleverly played by Pujara. A ramp shot, really leaning back and guiding the ball over the slips. Perfectly intentional.
IPL's coming, Angus.
Up and under.
IPL's coming.
It is. But it's true. I mean, there are shots like that where T20 cricket has transformed, or certainly has helped. It's helped batsmen adapt and play strokes like that. We saw Ben Stokes do it here 2 years ago. Shots he'd never have played 10 years ago. Well, that was very clever. He got himself a bit of a tangle, but rather than making a mess of it, just woof, up it goes and over the top.
That tells you about his mindset as well. A couple of innings ago, he would have dropped his hands, but that time around, he didn't.
142 for 2. And now Robinson bowls. It's full. He's forward there, leaning on that one. Back up the pitch. Got an Indian saxophone player down there as part of the Indian supporters. I don't know how much deep's gone now, how much a saxophone features in Indian music, but one down there at the moment, being blown with a fair amount of panache and vigour and enthusiasm. A fellow with an Indian flag draped round his shoulders. Now they're going to put a man down there, or at least they're thinking about it, just making sure that no, it's going back again by the look of it. Burns was heading off towards a fly slip we'd call it, or a short third man, but now he's been recalled and it's coming back up to backward point. And Robinson once more. There's just 3 slips now. Runs in and bowls. The ball swings away from Pujara. And even though it's 54 overs old now, the ball is still moving around. Michael Vaughan returns.
Afternoon, everyone. How do you reckon Jarvo would have coped with the bowling? He could have managed.
That was Jarvo, was it?
Yeah, that was Jarvo.
What, again?
Jarvo 69 was back. Yeah.
How did he get on again?
He came on with his pads, his helmet. He had a mask underneath the helmet. He was ready to go. He was in his stance. Sky actually didn't realise they focused on him.
Well, I missed that. In goes Robinson, and he's there and he bowls, and that comes cutting back, hits him on the pad, runs down to gully. Not surprised he can afford it after his entrance at Lords.
You think about him though, he's arrived at Lords as a bowler. He's now arrived as a batter.
Yeah.
And surely he'll arrive as a keeper only next week at the Oval.
I'm surprised he can afford the fine. but he came on from the wrong end, didn't he? Where did he come from?
I don't know where he arrived from, but he was in his stance.
He was taken off to the West Stand with stewards clutching onto him. Oh, I didn't see him go into his stance. Robinson bowls, and this is played off the front foot by Pujara. It's been an eventful day. We've had an intruder, we've had an aeroplane flying around with a banner about the ECB on it.
I think Richard Calborough, the umpire, he kind of looked up and said, "Oh, Virat's put a bit of weight on."
He's quite a big lad, Jarv, isn't he?
Yeah, Jarvo, he's a big lad, yeah.
I don't know what happened to him, but his
pads didn't look like they fit.
No,
I think he looked like he had junior pads on.
It was all falling apart as he was led away. Here's the last ball of the over. Pujara on strike on 57. 142 for 2. Robertson again, shoulders rocking, moves in and bowls, and it's tucked away into the leg side by Pujara, who's going now. The fluence is returned.
He's played beautifully, hasn't he?
58 not out. 143 for 2. Coley has 10. Ball from Michael, and then Dan Norcross coming in here.
Yeah, Pujara's played lovely. He's 58 from 102, and he's just he's had some nice balls to hit, but it's been his intent. You can see that he's arrived out there, and he's really been focusing on the ball to score. It's like he's enjoying his batting. Rohit Sharma, he played nicely for his 59. Just brushing that leg stump on the review, the umpire's call. You always feel, I think, as a batter, just a bit hard done to, and it's just grazing that leg stump. And you have to say that the conditions for bowling have been perfect all day. The lights have been on, been a bit gloomy. So India have done well so far to only have lost 2 wickets.
They certainly have. Pujara faces up to Anderson, and Anderson, right arm over, comes in. Pujara leaves it alone. It wasn't that far from off stump. Left on length. He's batted really well, Pujara. Today he's been in appalling nick coming into this game. Andy.
12 runs from Jimmy Anderson's last over. It's only the 4th time in the last 5 years that he's conceded 12 or more in an over in Test cricket. He's played 49 tests and bowled over 1,000 overs in that time.
Wow.
It's getting pretty gloomy out there as Anderson is in, and Pujara lets this go by again, a bit wide. He's been a little bit wide today, don't you think, Anderson?
I don't think he's been at his best today. I think he's, for whatever reason, you have days where it just doesn't feel right, and then he's gone chasing it. To Pujara in particular, he gave him a few leg stump half volleys, very unlike Jimmy Anderson, and he's just not quite going to that groove. And it only takes a little bit of magic, and suddenly Jimmy gets a wicket or two, and he's never too far away from rhythm, Jimmy Anderson.
He's running in towards us with 3 slips. Pujara lets this go again outside the off stump. Tighter line this time, but too short. Pujara is just in the groove here. He's faced 105 balls for his 58. Comfortably leaving the ball. I'm a bit scared about the potential arrival of the Megatron. The light meter.
Oh. Do you think it's a bit...
It feels there's a bit of gloom to me.
4:45.
It's feeling more crepuscular than it should do at this time of day.
Yeah, but these windows that we look through, they're a bit tinted, aren't they?
I hope so. Here's Anderson. Pujara again lets this go by. He's not had to go anywhere near a delivery so far this over, and Anderson will just be thinking, Pujara's not going to be tempted. I'd have to try something a little different, and maybe that's where the leg stump half volleys come in, I guess.
Yeah, it's it's been what Pujara has been waiting for. But I think what Pujara has done also, he's played a nice drive through extra cover. He's played a couple of back punches through that cover point region, which really haven't seen too many of those shots throughout the series from him. I saw him get so many runs in Australia 2 series ago, and he was playing like this.
Ominous signs. As Anderson is in, Pujara gets one on the hip, which he flicks away out towards the boundary. It's being pursued by Robinson, but he's not going to get there. 4 more to Pujara. That was trying to straighten the line, and it just didn't really do anything. A bit too short. Pujara's in good nick here. You can tell by his eyes as well. He's really focused on what he's got to do.
Again, leg stump going down. It's a gift really for someone like Pujara. Very unlike Jimmy. What have you got, Andy?
That's his 11th 4 out of 62 runs, highlighting how clinical he's been on scoring opportunities.
147 for 2. Pujara to 62 with that boundary. And here comes Anderson. And Pujara there's a perfect leg glance for 4. So Robinson had moved all the way out, almost a deep backward square leg from long leg, and then Anderson again got his line slightly wrong. I think that might be the last we see of him for a little while. And Pujara was just able to angle his bat and flick it ever so gently for 4. The 150's up, 151 for 2 at the end of the over. Pujara 66, Coley 10, lights are on. You can see, when you can see all 4 shadows of a player, I always think that's the first signs of encroaching gloom.
Well, I look at the overs left to the second new ball, there's 25. And obviously if the overs are bowled today, England will get a second new ball tomorrow morning, and I always think a little bit of morning moisture is more for the bowlers in the morning. If you've got a brand new ball, then it's absolutely perfect. If you take a new ball an hour and a half into the day's play or just after lunch,
Robinson starts a new over, and Coley lets this go by outside the off stump.
It never seems to do as much.
Yep.
So I don't think India will want asking twice to get off the pitch.
No. England will try and get as many overs in as possible. Now, Robinson's been a bit of talk about what Robinson, or who Robinson reminds people of. I can't really get much further away than to more than a hint, perhaps, of Hazelwood.
Yeah, I've got Hazelwood.
I'm suggesting...
Someone say Mike Hendrick from back in the day, but
I think he's a little fuller, do you think? A bit fuller?
I'm more in the Hazelwood camp.
He's in, is Robinson, pushed out to the offside, up to mid-off, there's no run. I'm half thinking of suggesting he starts a cologne brand called More Than a Hint of Hazelwood. I think it could work.
Oh yeah, what flavour? What are you going to put in it?
Well, I don't know. Imagine hazel wood.
I'm not too sure I'm going to be buying that.
I've no idea what hazelwood smells like. Any
bit wooden?
Bit woody. I mean, cologne often is a little, isn't it? It's got the sort of scent of the forest. You imagine
a bit of willow in there.
Bit of willow. Nice morning dewy day as outside the off stump, left alone through to the keeper, and there's no run.
Is Old Spice still going?
I don't know.
And those kind of brands. I used to spray a bit of Bruton back in the day. It was about a fiver.
I'm not sure if they are. The one that used to get me was Denim. They had an extraordinary advert for it, which is probably unrepeatable now.
I just use Wisden.
Wisden, a good old Wisden.
Rub an almanac over myself.
You're absolutely right. If you get an old enough one as well, it's anything pre-war
Nice
or
leather
just
one,
post-war. Yeah. The 1947 Wisden is particularly fragrant. Robinson starts up again, 151 for 2. He's into Coley. And Coley comes forward in perfect defence. He's now moving his feet well, not quite those exaggerated forward movements that we've seen from him in this series. He's just looking a bit more comfortable. And is this in part, Michael, because
it's a no ball?
Oh, it's a no ball. Another run, 152 for 2. He'll have to bowl it again, Robinson. Is this in part that, the Indians are looking much more comfortable in this innings? Part of it, obviously, the conditions of the pitch, I get that. But also, when you're so far behind, you don't really have anything to think about except just batting. So long to go.
Yeah, just play. You're playing for your own number at this stage.
Here's Robinson. Coley lets this go by. It's quite close to off stump, but his judgment is good.
Yeah, from what I've seen of Virat, we into 20 balls of his innings early, but he's certainly looking like he wants to leave more balls. I feel in this series he's been a bit quite anxious of going out there to try and be a bit too aggressive too soon. When he got all those runs in 218, and I'm sure Andy can look up, but I had him in 18. Of his first 60 balls he hardly scored, and then he started to go up into the gears once he got used to conditions, but it was just leave.
Here is Robinson. That's flicked away by Coley. His aerial briefly out to mid-wicket along the ground ultimately, and there's no run.
And then he wore the bowlers down into bowling straight, and then he worked it on the onside, and then when the ball was a bit older and it wasn't quite swinging as much, he started to play those extra cover straight drives. I always feel Virat's at his best when the drives are going just left of mid-off.
Yes, he did get a lot on the leg side. There was a piece in CricViz about it, wasn't there? In 2018, he was able to score a lot of runs on the leg side for that reason, as the bowlers were forced to attack the stumps more, and he's very strong on that leg side. Robinson's into him again. He drives, but the inside half of the bat this time, and it rolls up to mid-on. Almost anything is encouragement for the England bowlers at the moment. 152 for 2 at the end of the over. Pujara 66. Kohli has 10. We were talking earlier about Headingley 81. There's a special programme on BBC Sounds. Hilary Aitken emails. I was nearly at Headingley 1981, weren't we all? We were on holiday in Worcestershire and planning to go to the last 2 days of the Headingley Test, but England were making such a hash of it by Saturday lunchtime, we decided not to make the journey and stayed where we were. We set off for a walk in the Malvern Hills when Botham and Dilly had just come together. Sometime later we returned to the car. They were still there. We know what happened next. I'm going to have I was nearly at Headingley 81 on my gravestone. That would be quite poignant, actually, for future generations. whole street, they'd prop up all over the country, wouldn't they?
Nearly there. Well, you were right. Jimmy Anderson's been taken out of the attack. Overton will replace him. He just didn't quite get it right, Jimmy.
Overton's bowled well today, 1 for 27 in his first 13 overs. Starts a new over. Pujara lets this wideish ball outside the off stump go into the gloves of Butler.
2 overs for 20 for Anderson in that spell. His previous 22 overs in this match, he'd conceded just 32 runs and taken those 3 first innings wickets. And it's now 67 overs this summer in second innings for Anderson without a wicket.
Does that prey on your mind? Is a bowler aware of that?
I've no idea. I certainly wasn't as a spin bowler.
Overton in outside the off stump, left alone again. England, I'd love to see a pitch map of how many balls England have bowled that would have hit the stumps.
Yeah, but I think what they're trying to do is build up pressure with dots, and there's no rush in their eyes. It's not, had a feeling today that it could be over. I thought England might, whip India out once again, but India are playing well, so England are just going, right, okay, we'll be patient. Such a long time left in the test match, no concern.
Overton trundles in. And Pujara does drive at this. It's full and straight, and he's going to get 4 for it. As he goes to the left hand of the bowler and to the right hand of Moeen Ali at mid-off and runs up to the boundary for 4. It's a lovely shot, well timed. That's what Pujara's been like today. 70 from 111. This is a very different Pujara.
Yeah, but that's a half volley. And in Test cricket, if you get a half volley, you have to have the ability to hit it, or at least try and hit it, and then obviously you try and find the gap. It's only a minute gap that you found there. Moeen Ali was rolling around on the floor.
He was doing the sort of Alan Partridge James Bond gambit there,
what
wasn't
he did, and I'll explain after this ball.
Overton is in on the pads almost, and that's defended off the front foot. Short mid-wicket, no run.
But I think he had to chase it eventually. He did what Peter Hartley used to be very clever at mid-on and mid-off. When the ball used to go back, he used to pretend to dive and roll on the floor, so whoever's at mid-on or mid-off had to chase after it, so he didn't have to go and get the ball.
Oh, that is cunning.
Yeah, so you just do a roll and you stay down, and then someone else has to go and get it.
And that's a tip I could have done with that tip. Yeah, I was often at mid-off.
You're still playing? Do you still play the odd game, Dan?
Yeah, the odd game.
Yeah.
The odd game. I've not been awfully successful this year. Overton is in outside the off stump, the keeper.
What's your what's your bio? What kind of player are you?
It's a right-hand stodge.
Right-hand stodge?
Yeah.
So you bat in the top order, or?
Try to, yes. Ideally,
open or?
Ideally open.
Go in first. Take the first ball, or?
I always like the first ball.
Right,
get in there. Cause, apart from anything else, if in the second innings you get out to the first ball, then you're showered, changed and in the bar before you really have to do anything. It's marvellous. Here is Overton again. Forward comes Pujara. That's slightly indeterminate length. And
so stodge is a word...
very much the forward defence was my go-to shot. And other people tried to dispirit bowlers by hitting them around the park. I just wanted to hit the ball back to them, and so they got more and more frustrated that way. I mean,
so I'm getting a sense of a Sibley Pujara mixed cake.
Very much in that mould. Yeah, very much in that mould.
Andy Zaltzman style.
Yeah, I got a lot of runs down to third man. Anything wide and short would go off the edge down to third man.
So that's your boundary option.
That's my boundary option. Yeah.
Right. Can you whip it on the onside?
No, absolutely not. No, that was the one area that I really couldn't stand.
Right. Any drives? Can you drive?
Oh yeah, fine with the long half volley. And that's everyone can do that.
Okay.
I've only faced 10 balls at the Oval. My first one was an extra cover drive for 4. Lovely. It was full toss, mind you. But the outfields that you guys play on, they're very quick, aren't they?
Yeah, you don't have to do too much.
No.
They've got better bats as well, haven't they, Dan?
There's a lot of things to their advantage. If I'd played that shot in where my club plays, there would have been 2. Well, I might have got 2 for it, but I might have settled for 1 at my age,
If only you'd have had faster outfields.
Would have been, it would have made quite a significant difference. Might have raised my average from 13.5 to about 22.
What's your bat? What do you go with?
Well, tell you a minute, as Curran is in, full driven beautifully, didn't get through extra cover because a terrific diving stop. That shortish extra by Rory Burns took the pace off it and deflected it. It's picked up by mid-off running to his left. 1 more the total, 156 for 2. I did a podcast for a bat company, which I probably shouldn't say the name of, many years ago, and so they made me a bat.
Right.
And actually the bat is considerably better than I am. On the rare occasions I time it really does whistle off it. It's a terrific bat. Now then, hang on, has Burns hurt his thumb a bit?
Yeah, it's a good
slightly.
start.
He's not coming off though.
He's got a hand warmer on it. Got one of those tea baggy things that keep your hands warm.
Yeah, he's okay. He's still out there. Curran into Pujara, lets this go by into the gloves of Butler, angling across him, no run. I mean, my most proud feat still to this day is neither of the hundreds, one of which was scored against the Green Party. They were quite loose. It was
I've got to tell you this.
6 of 96 balls that saved the game.
Stuart Broad, I mentioned Peter Hartley in the dive at mid-on, and you do it to make sure that whoever near runs after the ball don't give away my secrets, he says.
Because he does that too, doesn't he?
Moeen learnt it off me.
Curran in, driven nicely, but Burns picks up at short extra. There's no run. That's a really good point. So now I can now envisage Stuart slightly rolling over a bit.
Can he?
Yeah.
Well,
but because he's often at mid, like if he's at mid-off, often Jimmy's at mid-on or vice versa, isn't he? So he's basically making Jimmy Anderson go and run after it.
Yeah, he generally has been, hasn't he? That the 2 bowlers stand at mid-on, mid-off in the last few years. But why would you want to chase the ball if you don't have to?
No.
He's gone for 4.
I mean, let's find out from Stuart. Are there ever Mexican standoffs where the 2 of them are just stand
rolling on the floor?
not going to do it. Curran in, slightly shorter, worked into the onside, up to mid-on.
So you could have mid-on and mid-off roll, and then extra cover joins in and mid-wicket, and then it ends up with the cord and someone has to go and fetch it.
Well, as a captain, I always used to like to have 2 slips in, because if it went through the slip cordon, I could send the other slip off to get it, you know.
Yeah. Just
Johnny Bairstow will chase it from anywhere.
Yeah, he likes to get his GPRS up, does Johnny?
He does, really, doesn't he?
There's no swing so far in this opening burst back for Sam Curran. Nothing through the air.
He's in again to Pujara, who defends. Back of a length ball, back up the wicket to Curran, who bends down to pick up. Again, no run. Last ball of the 58th over coming up. 22 more.
Well, Pujara's just called for a change of gloves. I remember back to Lords where he actually changed his gloves in the test match and he wasn't even off the mark.
Yes. Well, it was about 39 balls he took on that occasion. I think it was. It's got a bit lighter, I can tell people at home. A bit less gloomy. As Curran runs in, that's left alone. Through to the keeper. And that is the end of the 58th over. India 157 for 2. Pujara 70. Kohli has 11. The partnership 41. The 1 wicket to fall in this session. Rohit Sharma, LBW. Either a terrific decision if you're an England fan, or a really tight marginal one if you're Indian. It was referred, but shown to be just clipping leg. Robinson, has to be said though, his angle of attack, the way he bowls, if he's going to get LBW, it's always to be that, isn't
we
it?
got mid-off roly-poly news.
Oh yeah, tell me.
He said it's a standoff.
It's a standoff.
Really, it's only between him and Luke Fletcher at Notts.
Oh, crikey. Oh, that could take a long time to retrieve the ball between those two.
I can imagine Luke Fletcher being... I can see that he would have that mindset.
He might even actually argue about it.
Yeah.
Vocally. Overton comes in. Start a new over. He's pushed into the offside by Coley. Back to a point. Hasib Ami picks up. There's no run. Craig Overton's like a sort of mobile Easter Island statue to me. There's something sort of solid and stony about his physog. He's bowled really well today. Terrific spell in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Craig Overton, Ollie Robinson. They'll be tested in conditions that'll be a bit tougher than this, but they just seem to have got a bit of steel about them.
Overton is in, and that's perfectly defended by Coley.
You can
on
see
the ground up to mid-off.
With the ball in hand, you can see that, but when they go out to bat as well, you can see that they've got a little bit of something about them.
Yeah,
which holds well for England going forward. Again, over the top bowlers, you look down under. People that come over the top generally have a good amount of success. I mean, Ollie Robinson, what's he into his 4th test match now? He just looks like he's played 50 or 60 already.
Here is Overton. Coley just works across his front pad, takes it up to mid-on. There's no run. Has he got a wicket now in every innings he's bowled in?
No, he had none for 21 in 4 overs at Trent Bridge in an abbreviated second innings when the last day was washed out.
That's right. Yeah.
Other than that, he has hauls of 4, 3, 5, 2, 2 and 1 so far in this innings.
It's
2 in the first innings.
It's very consistent, isn't it? Here comes Overton, shoulders rocking from side to side, and that's left alone by Coley in the channel through to Butler. There is no run. More live cricket follows us. The Kent v Birmingham T20 quarter-final is live on Sports Extra tonight to decide who joins Somerset, Hampshire and Sussex on finals day. Will it be a Southern group clean sweep, or can the Birmingham Bears restore the pride of the North?
Well, I'm going to leave you because I know Victor's coming on and he'll be more than happy to talk about last night's game, I'm sure.
He will. What a thriller it was. They've all been good, actually, the T20 Blast quarter-finals. Overton runs in, and Coley lets this go by, and that was closer. Hands go to head. It's probably a bit too short to threaten the stumps, but it was tight. It was on that 4th stump line, maybe a little closer. 157 for 2. Yeah, it was a terrific game yesterday. It was a terrific game the day before when Hampshire beat Notts by just 2 runs. And Vic wouldn't come out with us last night because he had to settle down in front of his beloved Somerset and watch them come back from a perilous position, thanks to the ministrations of their captain Tom Abel. As Overton is in forward in immaculate defence. Comes Coley, pushes to extra cover. Dawid Malan does the fielding. That is the end of the 59th over. India are 157 for 2. They're moving serenely, not particularly quickly, but unruffledly. That's a word. Coley has 11. Pujara has 70. Thoughts from Vic Marks, possibly on Somerset, possibly on this match, and then it will be Alison Mitchell.
I'd better stick to this match, I think, for the moment. Well, I think Pujara has more or less resuscitated his Test career. I mean, he's played really quite fluently for his 70. He's got to play in the next game, which was in doubt, I think, before he came to the crease, but he's done a good job. There's something wrong with, I feel, batting has been fairly straightforward. I can't quite work out now that England have just about to bowl their 60th over. Mo has only bowled 3 of them.
Hello, Vic, and it's Curran continuing in full to Pujara forward, defending back up the pitch, and no run. Yes, we haven't seen much of him, have we?
We saw 3 overs, and he was not that threatening, but it's not doing much out there. So I suspect it's time for a little bit of mowing. He's got Coley out a few times, curiously, in his career. That's the sort of statement I make, and then Zoltzman will tell me that actually...
3 sits in place for Curran over the wicket, back of a length, and it's been turned down to the ground. Pujara riding what bounce there was. It's behind square for a single.
You are correct. Moeen has dismissed Coley 5 times for 186 runs, average 37, well below Coley's career average, which is currently 51.
Yeah. It's not going to spin viciously, but I just feel that pitch, it looks like it needs a spinner on it at one end. Just seamers have bowled valiantly, by and large, particularly Overton and Robinson. I think actually Jimmy has had a slightly off day, particularly after his first spell.
Yeah, there were a few leg side gifts, weren't there, for Pujara. Curran in full and defending. There's Coley forward and into the offside. Burns picks up and no run. Yeah, you've got to try at some point something different. I mean, with the luxury of, the lead for England is now less than 200, India behind by 196, but still a lot of runs to play with. They can afford, if Moeen goes for some runs, then you take him out the attack and you haven't lost a great deal. Kohli's on 11. Taps his bat once against the ground and waits as Curran rushes in. He's pulling him away aerially over the top of mid-wicket and out to the boundary for 4, well in front of square. Back of a length from Curran. The ball's not really rising up very much. It was very easily pulled away by the Indian captain.
Yeah, I don't know whether he banged that in on purpose or not, but it didn't disturb Coley greatly. He dispatched it.
Yeah, it's taking India onto 162 for 2. Coley up to 15. The new ball, of course, is really 20, just under 21 overs away. So that's still a bit of bowling to do.
I think we will get it tonight. Yeah. I suppose we will.
Well, light might be a factor. Curran pushing one across Coley. Takes a large stride forward and lets it go through to the keeper. It was at Lord's, wasn't it, where we had one evening curtailed by bad light when England wanted to bowl their quicks, albeit Mark Wood. It was very quick, but all the same. The lights have been on all day, but it's got a bit murky, hasn't it, in recent...
I think Root has just to whisper to the umpire, oh, come on, we haven't got anyone quick.
3 slips behind the bat. England searching for more wickets. There's only been 2 all day. They've got the openers, though. Sharma and Rahul have gone. Well, that one did just cut back in on Coley a touch. It surprised him, angled it out towards the slip region, and Overton at full stretch fields the ball. But he didn't look altogether comfortable with the delivery.
He did pop that. I think he might have rolled his fingers over that as a sort of an off-cutter.
Yeah, it did surprise him.
Yeah, and it bounced a little bit more, so it's a nice piece of variation there from Curran. And he needs something. He's probably been, certainly the least used and probably the least threatening of the quicker bowlers. It's such a lovely game, this, in that at the start of the match, Root wanted 3 seamers and a little bit of Moeen. In his ideal world, he might have a left-arm spinner rather than a Curran in his bowling attack, but you can't have it all ways. But come the second innings, and it's looking dry out there. I'm not sure it's going to spin viciously, but you need a bit more variety, perhaps. It's not doing much off the pitch for the seamers.
Overton bounding into Pujara, drop and run. No, he's being sent back. Forward scurries Burns from third slip to field. But I mean, that would have been quite a perilous single to call Coley through with the ball only about a metre away from the stumps. It would have been a race between Coley and Burns. Burns was there very quick. But it's a mark, isn't it, of how busy Pujara has been.
I mean, he can be a bit suspect. He can be involved in the odd run out. It's something England might cling to. They love a run out. Anything.
It might just help to create a little bit of a sense of chaos in the Indian dressing room, because it's quite serene at the moment. Here is the drop and run. No, it isn't. He's gone back again. Hamid this time running in from point.
Coley's just putting his hand up. In fact, I think he's going to have a quick post-mortem here.
Saying it's okay. We're not in a run chase.
You're doing fine, but they're just a bit tight.
Yeah. Just defend, stay calm. Well, it's a change of partner. He'd put on so many runs with Rohit Sharma and batting pretty well together. Coley's been out there with him for 33 balls, however, now. And Pujara settles over his bat again. 3 slips await behind him. Under gloomy Headingley skies, floodlights are gleaming down. Overton in on middle and leg, turned square. Straight to Ollie Robinson and no run. No attempt at a run that time either. 162 for 2 and India still 192 behind.
But he scored really quickly, Pujara, by his recent standards. 71 off 124 balls in a match India at the moment, but there's a long way to go at trying to save.
Yeah, remarkably, into the evening session of the third day, this match is so well advanced. India in their second innings as Overton is in again, out leading edge. He's looking to work that to the leg side. Pops out towards Malan, who fields coming forward from cover, and there's no run.
It's sort of reverse swing time, round about 60 overs and a bit dry out there. I don't think that's one of Overton's great strengths, being able to do that. I'm just wondering whether the odd ball might start to do that. They've been, after 60 overs, it sometimes helps, but not really Overton's strength. I thought Robinson might have got the odd one. Tailing back in a little
There's a lot of nip with the new ball, wasn't there, in the proud scene. That's come off at leading edge, squirting out towards Hamid at point, and this time it's Pujara sending Coley back, and he was eager from the non-striker's end. And there's a little thumbs up from the Indian captain down to his batting partner. Well, this is probably the most uncertain we've seen 2 Indian batsmen between the crease since the start of the innings.
Yeah.
Bit of stop-start. Will that boil up into anything for India? There's no... I suppose they want to be still turning over the strike, not let themselves be bogged down, because there's still 192 runs of deficit. In comes Overton, charging into Pujara. Turns this off his hip, down to fine leg. Curran is fielding. And there is now a single, a comfortable one. And the throw comes back into the gloves of Butler. 163 for 2 at the end of Overton's over. India 191 behind. We've had 61 overs of the Indian innings. I was looking at when Pujara's last Test 100 was. You go back to the India-Australia series, the tour, when he was so prolific in 2018-19. So the third of his 300s in that series in the Sydney Test match, and a huge 193. But that was, Andy will correct me if I counted this up wrong, 36 innings ago, 2.5 years. He's only passed 70 twice since then.
And since his last half-century score, which was in the first Test against England earlier this year, he'd made just 139 runs, average 13.9.
He's on 72, facing up to Curran and defending.
Well, you've got to be a very good player to do that, because you stay in the team despite the fact that you can't score a run.
Yeah. I suppose the captain always feeling like quality class player, that a big score will always be around the corner, and maybe at times still doing a job in terms of occupying when needed.
It's been quite a long corner. So that's because the art of selection, isn't it? How long do you...
Yes, how deep is the corner? How sharp are the corners? Clipped off the leg, behind square. And down to Moeen. Single taken, and Pujara gently through. 164 for 2. Pujara onto 73. The latest Stumped podcast is out, Victor.
Right, well, what can we look forward to?
Well, this week, Jim Maxwell and Chari Sharma and we actually looked into the Pataldi Trophy. So that's the trophy that these two teams are competing for. And you hear all the names. Sometimes it's nice to delve a little bit into the names behind the trophy. Fielder at short extra in here, but that's been clipped by Coley through the onside, wide of Min-on, and down to the boundary for 4. Curran going over the wicket to the Indian captain. He's on to 19. Nicely timed stroke. 168 for 2. Yeah, a little bit of that in swing, wasn't there?
A little bit, but not enough to trouble Coley. He just let it drift into his pads, and ominously for England, he just clipped it away.
That brought up a 50 partnership in 13.5 overs.
That's pretty quick by the standards of this match.
Yeah, batting well together. Curran is in outside the off stump, a shouldering of arms, is to skip up onto his toes. Coley lets it go through. So yes, the Pataldi Trophy was inaugurated in 2007, and that was in honour of the 75th anniversary since India and England first played a test match. So that was in honour of Iftikhar Ali Khan Pataldi, who's the 8th Nawab of Pataldi. And we've actually on the programme spoken to the nephew of Tiger Pataldi, so the whole dynasty. And you can listen to the podcast and understand why the name and the family is so significant to Indian cricket. A little bit more lift that time from Curran, a little bit closer to the body of Virat Kohli as it goes through to Jos Buttler. I wonder if you can find a little bit of extra bounce somewhere.
Well, Nawab Pataldi was a remarkable man because he basically ended up batting for most of his career with one eye.
That's right.
Having had an accident, probably as a student. He was at Oxford.
He was driving, wasn't he?
Yeah. And
we explore this in the podcast.
Yeah. Oh, right.
But no,
well, I don't want to ruin it. But
look at it like a teaser. Curran in, Fuller, and Coley turning into the onside. No run to end the over. India 186 behind and 168 for 2.
So amazingly, he scored a stash of test runs with one eye, and
quite
he was
inspirational.
A more restricted player, I think. As a youth, I gather. The person who was my cricket master at school went to school with him, and told me that he was an astonishing player with 2 eyes,
even with one.
But his test career was played essentially with 1 eye,
because he'd already been selected by the time of the accident, and it was a case of him needing to understand his limitations and how best he can still succeed. Quite a remarkable tale. 3 slips here then. Pujara facing up to Overton, short, hammered away into the ground and only as far as mid-on.
But didn't his father, and I'm looking to Andy, play in the Bodyline tour for England?
Yes, Iftikhar played for both England and India, which is also another quirk of the story.
And I don't know whether it's true, but I think Jardine is supposed to have said His Royal Highness or whatever, the Nawab, is a conscientious objector.
Looking to drive only as far as mid-off and Moeen fields, no run.
As far as bodyline bowling was concerned. Right. So, it is an amazing story. You don't get many people with families with cricketers who've played for 2 nations.
No.
But he's one of them.
Hashtag BBC Stump to find that on Twitter. You can find it online then. You can go to if you search BBC Stumps online, you'll get that via the website as well. You can download or the BBC Sounds app. Overton is in now to Pujara outside the off stump, pushes just slightly across him and through to to Buttler. And there's no run.
Well, I can have to listen to that.
You will, Vic. BBC Sounds app, there you go. There's one for your drive home.
I need a few of them, actually, for my drive home.
Oh, there's a whole back catalogue.
Right, okay.
There's a whole back catalogue. And in fact, there's a really moving interview from the episode earlier with Naveen Ul-Haq, the Afghanistan bowler. Very moving indeed about the situation back in Afghanistan at the moment, and in particular what the plight could be for the Afghan women's cricket team. As Overton is in now, the shouldering of arms from Pujara lets that go past the off stump and through to Jos Buttler. A very, very uncertain landscape. Interestingly, the Afghanistan women's football team were arranged passage out of the country by Australia team of lawyers and human rights and the government coming together and managing to get the Australian women's football team out of the country. So yeah, there's an awful lot going on, but the interview that Naveen gave was really very moving. Overton is coming in now to Pujara. Ford clipping it into the onside, calls Coley through, and he obliges. It's a comfortable single in the end. It's fielded at mid-wicket by Robinson. And India 185 behind, 169 for 2.
Yes, the senior of the two, Pataldis, did indeed play for England in the Bodyline series, scoring a epic 380-ball century at the SCG in the first test, 102 or 380 balls in 327 minutes. What an over 8.
Well, that sounds like Pujara's inspiration.
Played 2 further tests for England and 3 for India after the war.
Coley wide-eyed as Overton is in. Full, clipped through the vacant mid-wicket region. Mid-on is after it. Coley busily coming back for the second. Just be the 2. Anderson has chased back, fielding in the deep and running back in the long-sleeved cable knit jumper. It's that chilly outside. 171 for 2.
He's looking good, Coley, isn't he? He's looking better than at any point in the series so far, I think. And a bit like Root in the first innings, I think he's probably enjoyed the fact that he's come to the crease when the bowlers are a bit more tired, and the ball is certainly much older. And he's barely missed a ball as a consequence. Some drinks now, and much to ponder for Joe Root and his team. There's not much happening out there. The wicket is, as Joel Garner used to say, she's sleeping. I think they've got to give Mo a few overs, partly just for variety's sake, partly because it should be getting a little bit warm out there. It looks dry. It didn't spin very much when he bowled 3 overs, but it was only 3 overs, and the odd ball just straightened a little bit, but just that little bit of variety. And likewise, even though the lead is substantial still, you still want to try and put pressure on the batsman, keep it tight, because all batsmen are happier when they're scoring easily. And at the moment, both of these Indian players are scoring pretty easily. It's been a really significant day, I think, for Pujara, because, as we've been pointing out, he's had a long time without scoring many significant runs. And he will know that they can't keep picking me if I don't score any runs. And there's been all sorts of murmurs about the fact that he scores too slowly sometimes. Well, today, in India, in a dire situation, he's actually, curiously, scored extremely quickly. So everything's going well for him. And he has played really well. You watch him bat at the moment and you think, well, probably run out is the favourite mode of dismissal at the moment.
Is there any merits in Joe Root just turning his arm over? Can be a bit of a golden arm. Never know.
Yeah, I think he could easily do that. I mean, he feels that his England team is so reliant on Joe Root, but at some point before the next new ball is taken, I mean, first of all, you'd think he will go to Moeen, because he's the professional, if you like. But he could easily give himself a couple overs, and he has had the knack of grabbing wickets. I wouldn't want him to bowl a long spell by any stretch of the imagination, but he might have 2 or 3 overs somewhere this evening,
you never know.
just to try and pinch a wicket.
You never know whether the England captain bowling to the Indian captain could bring a little bit of ego battle into play, and Kohli might want to feel like, let's just try and play a shot. I mean, you just don't know how the emotions might ride. It's not an emotion-fueled passage of play or day's cricket here, but an error could come.
Well, we're going to have a change. It's not, however, going to be Moeen from this end, coming down the hill at Headingley. Jimmy Anderson's going to have another go. He's bowled 16 overs so far, and his figures are very respectable. He's bowled okay, but perhaps we set higher standards for Jimmy, and I don't think after his new ball spell, I'm not sure he was quite at his best, and he'll like to atone for that. And of course, I mean, not because he avidly listens to Andy Zaltzman, but he will probably know that there is a shortage of second innings wickets at the moment for some reason. I mean, there are some obvious reasons in that the pitches tend to lose a bit of spice and freshness. But he'll want to rectify that.
Yep. Just to tell you that more live cricket follows us here at the Test match. Kent v Birmingham in the T20 quarter-final is live on Sports Extra tonight. And don't forget, today at the Test, the highlights on BBC Two at 7 p.m. or available on the iPlayer. Daniel Norcross is coming in here just as James Anderson is jigging up and down on his toes, getting ready to bowl. So, Vic, I will do this first ball and then I'll bring in Daniel. 3 slips are there behind the bats. And it's Pujara on 74 as Anderson is in. It's full. Maybe a touch of shape away. No, Anderson doing this keepy-uppy. The crowd quite enjoyed that. Victor, Daniel is coming in.
Well, Lancashire bowlers are supposed to be good at that. I remember Michael Holding was the best, I think, as ever. That he somehow seemed to be able to land that ball in his hands at the end of a bit of foot juggling with the ball. But it was a commendable effort from Jimmy. He'd like to get a wicket more though.
Yep, he switched ends. Kirk's the lane end. He's in. And it's left alone by Pujara outside the off stump. Through to the keeper. And there's no run. I've said that a few times today. 171 for 2.
Happens in Test cricket.
Does, yeah. I'm not objecting to it. I'm just saying it's been one of those days where I've seen a lot of leaves. A lot of good leaves. Well-judged leaves. Pujara, who's faced 136 balls, his judgment is impeccable at the moment. 3 slips, backward point, extra cover, mid-off, mid-on, mid-wicket, and really a deep backward square leg. As Anderson is into Pujara, and that's again on around about 4th and a half stump line, and left alone.
Were you standing at first slip when you were skippering whatever side's it?
Always.
Come on, let's hit 4.5 stump, please.
4.5.
I
Yes.
bet you weren't saying that, were you?
No, I would be saying something even more inane than that in an attempt to get under the skin of whoever was batting.
God, I don't imagine that you were very quiet at first.
You would have hated it.
I would have done, yeah.
Keeper and second slip, the three of us used to have quite a good time. We used to enjoy it. Anderson is in, and Pujara has to defend this with his bat because it's a bit straighter. And then Anderson tries to play a bit of fancy footwork, but he's been out of practice and nearly kicks the ball into a place where they might have thought of getting a run, but in the end Rory Burns is able to get it. He's got a smile on his face. Anderson's got lovely laughter lines, isn't he, Anderson, which you don't always expect from a grumpy old fast bowler.
Well, he's not so grumpy off the pitch, but it's very rare to see him smile, having got 0 for 45 on the pitch. 16 overs and a bit. Here he is again, and that pops ever so slightly on Pujara, but he defends it perfectly into the offside. His game is working really well today. The clouds have slightly lifted again, so that fear I had of bad light might have receded a touch. England will be keen to bowl these overs for all sorts of reasons. The danger of being docked points, but also, as Michael Vaughan was talking about earlier, they'd love to arrive tomorrow either with the new ball due, which is perfectly feasible, or just around the corner. Here is Anderson again. That's well defended, but there are oohs and ahs because used the bat at the last minute, and that was much closer to the stumps. And there is no run. 171 for 2, Pujara 74, Coley 21. 64 overs have been bowled with an hour and 5 minutes left in the day. They won't get the remaining 20 in, but they ought to get 16, oughtn't they? Victor, we ought to see a bit of Moeen at some point. Well, we're going to see him now. He doesn't get through his overs quite as quickly as Jadeja.
No one does.
But he doesn't waste much time, though, once he gets going.
Who was the quickest? I mean, we look back and we hear these tales.
Well, the one legendary ones who bowled probably were Bomber Wells, I think, who basically had one step and bowled. He played for, I mean, it's before my time, this, but I remember everyone talking about Bomber Wells, who played for Notts and Gloucestershire. And he stood about, I think, a yard behind the stumps at most and bowled off breaks. And
here's Moeen starting a new spell, and he's driven first ball, but it's nimbly fielded at mid-off. by Jimmy Anderson, and there's no run.
I got a feeling it's something like he played at Worcester once, and he had the challenge of bowling his overs while the bells rang in between.
Oh,
while
right.
the bells were ringing noon.
That's a great challenge. Mowing in, it's a flat dart, and it's driven into the gap between Anderson at wide mid-off and point out to the deep extra cover fielder. And they'll get a single easily enough, 172 for 2. Did he manage it? Do you know?
Well, I'm sure many decades later the story ends with yes, him managing it, but
it sounds really exciting, like Chariots of Fire, because they had to get round to
yes, well, yeah.
Same kind of business. Perhaps not quite so theatrical. Mowing bowls, and down the wicket comes Pujara. Gets struck on the pad, so Butler makes a polite inquiry, but it's never going to receive an affirmative or positive response from the umpire.
I don't think Bomber Wells was particularly quick on his feet, however. I don't think
No.
he's a substantial figure.
Why I have to ask is he called Bomber as Mowing bowls. Down the wicket comes Pujara and then flicks it to short mid-wicket. There's no run. Don't know.
Wells are called Bombers, aren't they? I've got a feeling Colin Wells at Sussex was at some point called Bomber Wells. It must be a wartime thing or something. I don't know. Someone will know.
Mowing in, and that takes a thick outside edge actually and squirts to backward point. There's no run. It's interesting here. Pujara is moving his feet to Mowing. He's coming at him, and there is a forward short leg. So there's a little bit of a danger here for Pujara. If he does get there and a bit of bat pad, Hamid might want to move a pace to his left perhaps. And so Mowing is in. That's short and cut at and missed. A loose shot from Pujara, perilously close to his outside edge. Butler takes, end of the over, just the one from it, 172 for 2. Coley 22, Pujara 74.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player of spin, Pujara, and he scores more quickly against spin, and as we've noted, he comes up and down the crease, uses the crease against spinners. But he's a bit like Misbah, who can block all day against seamers, and then on comes a spinner. I mean, Misbah, spectacularly, occasionally, would have batted for 4 hours for 60 or 70, and then Monty would come on with about 15 minutes to the close of play, and he hit about 4 sixes.
Well, doesn't Misbah, hasn't he got one of the fastest hundreds, if not the fastest 100? I think I witnessed that, not live, but for another outlet.
Anyway, my point is that Pujara is usually more aggressive against the spin bowler, and certainly prepared to go up and down the crease, which does give Moen a chance. He's got quite a good record. I don't know what his record against Pujara is like, but he's got Coley, we've established 5 times.
Anderson starts a new over to Coley, and Coley comes forward, defends off the outside half of the bat to backward point. Hasib Hamid does the fielding. There's no run.
Misbah's century against Australia in Abu Dhabi in October 2014 was 56 balls, which at the time was the joint fastest Test century alongside Viv Richards' innings against England and Antigua in 1986, since when Brendan McCullum with a 54-ball 100 in his last Test match against Australia has surpassed them.
Yes, it was quite the knock. It was extraordinary. And it surprised us all for the reasons we've been saying. Here comes Anderson. There's 3 slips waiting. Coley defends, back of a length ball, wants a single. It's not there. And he's sent back by Pujara. Hamid does the fielding. Vic has left us. I wonder if we can find out why he was called Bomber Wells. There was Bombardier Billy Wells, but it won't be anything to do with that, I wouldn't have thought.
Were you just talking about the fastest hundreds?
Yes, you got one of them, have you?
I'll just say, where's my name on that list?
Where indeed?
There's only so many you can scroll down.
Well, you probably had you had a relatively quick double under, didn't you, for Essex at some point against, was it the Australians? Pushed it to the offside up to cover, and there was no run. 2005, was it that?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that one. I wouldn't know how many balls that would have been off, but I'm.
Oh, Alistair, we were so excited then, 2005, we got this dashing opener ready to come into the side. Gets a double under against Australia in double quick time.
I think I was on 190 by tea.
There you go.
Very surprising.
Why did you do that to us? It's like Boycott getting 140 odd in a Gillette Cup final in 1965, whatever it was.
Well, I think one of the worst bit I ever got was when, obviously as a left-hander, I was described as David Gower as 11-year-old in like the paper, and I got like 50, my first ever 50.
Ooh. Anderson is in, forward comes Coley, defending well on the front foot, out to extra cover.
Yeah,
no run.
I think 50 my first ever mauled, and I'm going to say fourth 11 game at 11. I was described as David Gower. Like, I was like, I could take that. And then
they report those games, do they, in Essex?
Well, I think it was, there was a picture of me in my batting kit and stuff. And so I was like, that's all right. And then I got up to like an England under 13 or under 14 batting camp at Lilleshall, and the first time I've been filled batting, I was like, that is not David Gower I'm looking at.
Anderson is in wide of the off stump. Good diving take by Butler in front of first slip. There's no run. Andy?
I can tell you exactly where you are on the list of fastest Test centuries. Joint 811.
All right, I'm going to have to guess.
Who was the 810 above him?
Right, which one would it be? It could be here at Headingley or the Durham. I got on 160 balls. I'm going for the one with 160 balls. I can't have scored any.
Do you reckon that's your quickest? 160?
Or 100, yeah, I'm going 160.
Not even when batting for a declaration? No. Anderson's in. That's driven nicely by Coley. It was a really lovely shot. It was full. Was a half volley, but Coley moved his feet to it perfectly and basically just pushed at it and timed it deliciously out through extra cover for 4. That's the end of another over that will frustrate Anderson. 18 overs, none for 50, 176 for 2. Coley has 26, Pujara 74.
Your fastest centuries were 148 balls against Bangladesh in Chittagong, March 2010, and a century against Pakistan at the Oval, also in 2010. When you've been in a bit of a rut, as I recall. That was also 148 balls.
Describe them. Yeah, absolutely. I remember that innings at the Oval where I think I was averaging 7 or something for the summer. We played Bangladesh and Pakistan. I really couldn't get the thing of the square. A little bit like Pujara, I suppose, going into this game where I was seriously struggling, and you get to that stage where you have that moment, you clear and said, well, I'm not getting out defending, I'm going to try and score as many runs as I can.
Moeen is in. He's cut away by Pujara out towards a deep extra cover boundary where Milan is patrolling. One more to the total. 177 for 2.
And if I got out playing an attacking shot, I was happy with it. I was kind of made peace with this. It was going to be my last innings, and I reckon Pujara has kind of gone in that today. Like how aggressive he's played.
Moeen's in. Down the wicket comes Coley. He doesn't quite get to it properly, and in the end just gets enough bat on it to squirt it out to Rory Burns at short mid-wicket. There's no run.
Yeah, it helped this first couple of balls. I think, was it Jimmy slid on his pads a bit, didn't he? And he got going, but he just looked so much more with so much batting, with so much more intent.
Moeen in and back into his crease goes Coley. Just dabs it to short leg.
And when that happens, then your feet start moving better. You have better judgment. You feel better about yourself. And I reckon it'd be really interesting to see what he said at the beginning of this innings, how he was going to play.
He looks at a changed man. Moeen in. Forward comes Coley, and now then there's an appeal here to the square leg umpire for a stumping. Did Coley's foot move? And most of the time this happens, it doesn't, because keepers, if they take it and whip the bails off, they get inordinately excited. But it's hard for us to tell from this angle. Yeah. Perhaps
he's not that.
Well, Moeen's not interested, really. No one's really interested. We're going to have a little look here. So first we're getting the front-on view. Oh, that was very close to the outside edge. And Butler's taken a bail off, and I don't see Coley's leg really moving, and yet he's appealed. Now there's a little bit of drag. There's a tiny bit of drag. Nothing like enough at the moment. There's nothing on ultra edge. They're looking on ultra edge first of all, but is this a referral? I thought this was a referral for a stumping, not for an edge. Well, it's going to be given not out, because I can see a bit of boot behind the line, can't you, Alistair?
Yeah, just. Yes. There is a tiny bit. I mean, he's close on that line, isn't he? There is just his big toe.
Yep. That'll be given not out. It's about to come up on the big screen, and there it is, not out. So there we go. Good ball though from Moeen, beating the outside edge, and Coley goes back into his crease, works into the onside. And there's no run. At the end of this over, I've got to give you really important Bomber Wells information.
Okay, who is Bomber Wells? Sorry.
Well, Bomber Wells, exactly. We were talking about him with Vic, Somerset player. As Moeen is in, that's flicked away by Coley, not precisely where he intended, but he'll get a single as it goes to square leg. Throw comes in.
Did Vic play with him?
No. 178 for 2. Coley 27, Pujara 75. Yes, very quickly, the Bomber, we were asking why was he called Bomber, and Vic said, I don't know really. And it turns out he was named after Bombardier Billy Wells. And you may be asking who's Bombardier Billy Wells.
Yeah, I'm a bit short in this conversation.
Right, he's an old, well, he wasn't old when he was doing it, but a long time ago he was a British boxer, and you may recognise him from old films, you know, the Rank films where somebody bangs the gong at the beginning.
Yeah.
That was Bombardier Billy Wells, who was a sporting star back in the earlyish part of the 20th century, because he was a British boxer who, I think, won the world title. And we also discovered, because we were talking about Bombardier.
Okay, why were we talking about him?
Well, I'll tell you what. Because we were talking about how quickly someone can get through an over. Ravi Jadeja, right?
Yeah.
I see
your link.
Right, you see the link,
yeah.
Right. Now, it was postulated that he was able to get through an over in the time it took the bells at Worcester Cathedral to chime 12. Right. Anderson is in. And starting new over, wide of the off stump, left alone by Coley. There's no run.
You need someone to try and put him into the car park, and then that wouldn't happen, would it?
Well, indeed, but I mean, I don't know exactly when we're talking, but it was in the days when that was a bit, de trop, really.
Can you be lecturing people about putting it into the car park when you scored none of the fastest 810 centuries in Test history?
I also think
7 6s or something I've ever hit in Test cricket.
There's every chance that when Bomber Wells was playing, there wasn't an actual car park at Worcestershire County Cricket Club at the time. As Anderson comes in, and Coley defends off the back foot to backward point where Hamid fields, and he did it apparently. And those bells have been timed at 34 seconds.
Now,
that's something,
good
isn't
effort.
it? Well, I mean, he bowled off one foot, apparently. He was just bowled off one pace. So if he could induce a series of forward defences, I think you could do that.
Now, what is the record for the most in an hour? Because back in the day where the over 8 was done over the whole season, wasn't it? And you got penalised at the end of the season if your over 8 was slow.
Here is Anderson. And Coley comes forward, perfect defence to short extra cover. There's no run.
So obviously in the last couple of games, if there's a dead game, you just bowl a couple of quick, like an hour.
To try and get your over rate up.
I think Essex I'm pretty sure this is true. Essex were down on their over rates, and obviously I think it was Gucci and Embers who were obviously good mates, weren't they?
Oh, I see.
And he asked Embers, can we just literally have an hour of bowling like 50 or something? And I think they bowled something like 45 in that hour. And they just,
Anderson is in. That's defended at the offside. There's no run. And people wonder why they tried to create these exciting new formats of cricket.
So I think they just literally stood at the 1 yard from Bombardier, whatever. Stood for 1 yard, everyone bowled, and then played the forward defensive shot. The ball went back, and they changed the rules because of it. Which I'd love to have played in a game where you changed the rules because of something you did. Yeah. So you could only bowl a maximum of so many overs.
Really? Is there a maximum? Wow.
I think there is.
Wow. Anderson is in. Forward again comes Coley. Defends into the onside this time. Everything's finding the middle of Coley's bat at the moment, but he's playing stoutly.
But like a lot of these stories, you don't know whether that's just a good pub story and didn't actually happen, or...
Well, surely Gucci is a paragon of veracity. He would tell you nothing but the truth.
Absolutely, but I think there is some...
So who would have been bowling that? Sort of like Ackfield bowling?
It didn't really matter, because I think the fielders never moved. The batsmen didn't move from their forward defence.
Right. Here's Anderson to complete the over. It's worked off his pads by Coley. Gets a single to square leg. And the score advances by that one to 179 for 2. Pujara 75, Coley 28.
Going about over 8's the wrong way in Tests then, Alistair. Rather than penalising teams for being slow, they should be rewarded for being fast. So if you bowl your 15 an hour, you get bonus 5 runs for your team.
Ruminate on that, Alistair, because Jonathan Agnew's going to come and replace me.
You always get something off your chest, don't you? You and your over 8, you might have nailed it. You might have absolutely nailed it. But I want you to find that out, whether that's true or not. Surely you better find out about the over 8 thing.
But on over 8, since in the last 12 years, since 2010, just under 14 per hour, which was down a little on the previous 3 decades. It took a big dip from the mid part of the last century.
Afternoon, everybody. Well, it's almost evening. It feels like evening. Moeen moves in and bowls, and that's flicked away out through mid-wicket. And another run to Virat Kohli, who looks well set here and very determined. 29 not out. It's 180 for 2. Dan Lawrence on the field at the moment, out there in the deep. I think for Craig Overton, I was trying to walk around and look at all the bowlers, but actually Overton might be back on at mid-on now.
Is that Ollie Robinson?
Robinson's back here, I think. Let's have a look. It's Pujara now flicking away into the leg side, and once again Lawrence emerges with that very big baggy sweater on, throws the ball back to Joss Buttler. The light's not good, and I just thought then as I slipped in,
Is Ollie Pope on as well? Did I just see Ollie Pope on the screen?
oh, at mid-wicket maybe. Moeen bowling, that goes past Hamid, picked up there in the leg side. That's thrown back by Curran. I think Pope's at mid-wicket. I just thought I might have seen one of those sort of preliminary conversations between the umpires about the light as I came in here. I don't think got their light meters on them yet.
Well, I think they put them on the stumps these days.
They do.
Yeah.
Moeen again, head shining under the floodlights rather. That's forced away off the back foot. Out to cover. And I'll take one more run, 183 for 2.
It was dark early as well, and actually they did well to not look or do anything. They're definitely trying to stay on, aren't they? They're definitely trying to stay on, but it's getting dark.
It doesn't feel very good at the moment. Moeen again bowls, and Coley stretches forward, or bounces away into the offside. Moeen scurries after it, 183 for 2, so 171 behind. And how much better, I couldn't play much worse, but how much better India have been in the second innings. Focused, disciplined, leaving the ball very well.
Total turnaround.
Moeen again over the wicket, bowls his off spin, worked away firmly by Coley. Again, I'll find Lawrence out there to our left hand side, 20 yards or so inside the boundary. That's the end of the over. Now I wonder if the umpires are going to have a bit of a conflab here. Umpire Goff, yes they are. Just had that feeling about it. I haven't seen the dreaded red machine coming out yet, this gauge that they put on the bails, but there's definitely a conversation about the light. Anderson's peeling off his jumper, totally ignoring this conversation, but the umpires are there, and whether they're going to call on the fourth umpire to bring it out, and they're saying to Joe Root, who are you going to bowl, Joe? And Joe's saying, I'm going to bowl Jimmy Anderson, and they, I suspect, are saying if he bowls, we're going off. And I think, what's going to happen here?
I think Joe Root's going to bowl.
He could bowl himself. Yeah, they were going off, and in fact Pujara was heading for the dressing room, and so Root's going to come on himself, and that means that the game can continue, because had it been Anderson they would have come off. So that does, I think, demonstrate what the conditions are like.
Now this is where I get a little bit confused, and I'm still playing the game, so that there should be the same. Now, do they have to take a reading at this level now? So they take the reading now, so if it ever gets dark on tomorrow or on day 5, they've said this even with the lights on, there's a reading at this level. If it goes below that, you can't bowl.
They certainly take a reading when they go off.
I don't know. I'm looking at me and you trying to do.
Well, I don't know either. So who's this chap trotting on? It's not our friend the Invader, but we've got an Indian sort of support staff coming on with some drinks here, and that's taking the umpires by surprise as well. They were surprised when this intruder took guard this afternoon. Their old friend Jarve from Lords, who appeared. I'm not sure where he appeared from, but next thing he's on the telly. The TV is focused on the new man, and they're thinking, hang on, his helmet doesn't fit. Who's that? And it's Big Jarve, who then was accosted by the stewards and led away with much of his kit falling off as he was led away.
He might. I'm
not sure what that was about. Now we've got another one coming on, and Virat Kohli's leaning on his bat. I think he's probably got rid of his helmet, so he wants his cap instead. There we go. That's what that's all about. We're running on all over the place. Touch of the gloves, and Kohli's ready for business at 184 for 2.
I suppose if England bowl a few overs here of spin, then tomorrow morning, where a lot of it's done more in the mornings in general in this game, they'll have the new ball.
Yeah, that sounds about right, doesn't it? Here's Root bowling wide of the off stump. Coley wearing his cap, lets it go through, and there's been some smiles there between him and Coley. I'm not entirely sure why, but it was floated up wide of the off stump, a bit of a tempter, and Coley had nothing to do with it. And they both smiled at each other, which is nice. His relations haven't always been harmonious in this series, but that's played out to extra covers left hand. Robinson picks it up there and fields. Yes, you're right, because there's 6. This is the 70th over So they could chip away here with this ball.
I wonder if little Milan might have a go for a couple of overs as well with his leggies. Just
Root again. Floats it up. Coley wants a single. Stealing out to mid-on. Have to run. The throw from Curran. Goes to the far end. And Pujara's in his ground. That was interesting because I thought he might have taken a single to the previous ball, actually, which is to Robinson's left at cover. Chose not to. But then he took on Curran at mid-on there.
It's one of the strange things about batting now, isn't it? Like, you're real close to going off.
Yeah.
And you don't want to face like Anderson or Robinson, but you're facing Joe Root. But you feel a bit of trepidation when you're batting because you think, I can't get out there. There's a real strange little bit of pressure. Normally you say, do you want to face Joe Root? Yes, please.
Look at the shadows.
Yeah, it's not long, is it?
Well, it doesn't feel it, even with Root bowling. They're standing out starkly now on the green grass, the floodlights beaming down. Root gripping the ball in his right hand, bowling his off spin, moves in and bowls. That's Pujara coming down the pitch, flicking the ball away to mid-wicket.
He runs down almost at the first ball every time, doesn't he? You wonder whether they dart it down the leg side and get Joss on the old plan.
Root again. Oh, horrible ball. That'd be how to describe it as a pie, I'm afraid. It was a leg stump full toss. Unfortunately, Pujara simply shoveled it to the man at backward square leg. It wasn't the prettiest cricket we've seen today. 185 for 2. Root again. Bowls, just holding it on back a bit. That was nicely bowled, actually. Pujara down the pitch again, plays the ball into the leg side. The umpires again just look at each other before heading off to their respective positions. But I suppose with the spinner bowling, really, it's got to be very, very dark to go off with Root and Moeen bowling.
You mentioned Pujara coming down the pitch a lot, Alistair. Only in the era covered by the ball-by-ball tracking database going back 15 years, only Michael Clarke has come down to a greater percentage of balls faced by spin. Pujara comes down to more than 1 in 5 deliveries that he faces from spin.
Here's Moeen, and he bowls, and Coley stands up and works out firmly to Burns at mid-wicket.
In total, he's come down the pitch over 1,200 times, only been out 4 times, and averages 221 when he comes down the pitch.
Come down every ball.
1,200 times. Here's Moeen. That's worked right into the offside this time. Who's sat there watching the telly and marked down that 1,200 times that Pujara has come down the pitch all over the world?
Well, how many times have I come down? I think
I might have an answer to that. In comes Moeen. It's worked away to forward short leg. You might have come down to a left arm spinner, might you?
I came down a little bit in 2012.
You'd have to have done that.
In India, I played. Used my feet a little bit.
Moeen bowls and the wristy flick again dispatches the ball to mid-wicket.
What do you reckon, 60? Is that too high?
Sounds rather a lot. I'm teasing you, Alistair. You had a great tour there. But funny because England batsmen tend to come down and defend, don't they? So Coley playing away.
Indian batsmen do it.
Yeah, Indian batsmen, sorry. Whereas an English batsman seems to be more a positive thing. Twiddle of the bat. Coley's ready. He's on 32.
I'm a little bit like, if you're coming down and you've got the chance of getting stumped, you might as well be trying to get some runs for it. But
yeah. Moeen again bowls. Quite hard to see the ball now, if I'm honest, from here. Coley plays out to mid-wicket. There's no run. Now this could be the stat of the day. And he's got that sort of impish look about his face as well. So is it going to be higher or lower? So Pujara's 1,200.
1,200 and averages 221, scores at 4.2 per over. Alistair Cook, very different approach.
Cook went for 60. Now is it higher and lower than
60 or 40? I can't remember.
It's higher than 60. 73 times, 127 runs at 10.4 per over. Out 6 times.
Oh,
average 21.
God, out 6 times?
Yeah, that's amazing.
I stumped a couple of times. Where are the other 4?
Hacks into the deep, probably.
I don't believe your stat base there. Stats don't lie, Andy.
185 for 2. Root's going to continue. Pujara's on 77 from 150 balls. So you reckon he'll come down to the pitch this one, don't you?
Yeah, first ball.
Theory's correct. He's going around the wicket. He could fire it down the leg side. He goes Root. bowls. Yeah, it stays where he is this time.
Yeah.
Just prods it back up the pitch.
So 1 in 5. So he's got 4 more balls to come down once to see if your stats are right, Andy.
There's a leg slip and an orthodox slip. Root moves in, bowls to Pujara. No, he plays from the crease again there. Root fields as the ball trickles back in his direction.
Got team dinner tonight, haven't you?
Yes. Eleanor Oldroyd under pressure with her selection. There's Root, and again is prodded back to him by Pujara. 3 balls left in the over. He's going to have to come down to one of these. I wonder if Root coming round the wicket is... Well, no, actually he'll come down and probably just work into the leg side, won't he? You'd imagine. It goes Root again, and it does... Yeah, well, that is a little come down. It does work into the leg side, but...
Does that come down?
Straight to the field. Well, it's half a come down. It's a shimmy. Half a shimmy.
I don't think they have anything defined as a shimmy in the database.
Well, they should. Let's see what happens now. Root again. No, need to go back and start again. Pujara wasn't ready. 185 for 2. So India 169 behind. Had a very good day today. Root moves in, bowls. No, he stays where he is there. Turns away to Bairstow's right at mid-wicket. This could be... Well, there's 2 balls left. This could break your database.
Oh, it has. It has gone.
Root again, bowls. No, he goes back this time. And that's the end of the over. And he didn't come down the pitch once. What does that say about your stats, Andy Zaltzman?
Well, it says that over the course of his career. It doesn't say every over he comes down exactly once.
So next over, he'll have to come down twice.
Yeah, okay. If he doesn't come down twice next over, I'll agree the stat's dead.
Any idea where you're going tonight, or can you not give it away as in case of your fan base?
I think, obviously, we try and keep these things under wraps. It looks somewhat COVID secure.
Yeah, obviously.
I think to be outside is a bit of a challenge. It feels a bit brisk out there. So, happily, I did manage to find the car. I've got my dog walking sort of fleeces to put on, so I might have to buy that tonight. Moen's coming round the wicket and bowls to Coley. He does come a pace down the pitch. And just so gently plays the ball back to the bowler. 185 for 2. There's a lot going on in Leeds at the moment, isn't there? There's a festival and all sorts going on. So they were somewhere in town, I think. In comes Moeen again. Bowls. That's run away down towards backward point, because you're back to playing duties, aren't you?
I am back training tomorrow morning.
When did you last have a net?
When we lost
to Glamorgan.
Yeah, lost to Glamorgan.
Wasn't going to mention that.
No.
You were very grumpy when you rang me.
Yeah, I was a bit of a lost opportunity.
There's Moeen again, worked away by Coley this time out to deep mid wicket.
You don't get a chance to play in many finals, do you? So
no.
And but full credit to Glamorgan. I'm not saying they played better than us and they deserved to win. And
they won the final too.
And they won the final. Yeah. But it's just, as a side, when you lose a semi-final, a tinge of regret. And actually, in one sense, like I was scoring all right, and me not going on and getting a big 100 cost us probably 30 runs at the end, and we were probably 30 runs short, so shoulder some of the blame.
Moeen round the wicket, bowls down the pitch he comes, just flicks the other way out towards mid wicket.
Did he come down there, Bajaj?
Yeah, that's coming down.
That's 1 in 7 then.
Yeah, he did come down. 186 for 2. Those semi-finals are tough games, aren't they? Worse than finals. Moeen bowls flat, it's short and cut, and that'll send Bairstow on his way down to third man. I think the ball's going to win the race. There you go, 4 runs in front of a rapidly thinning crowd, I'd say, in the West Stand. I think they've made up their minds for the day, a lot of them anyway, filing out. We'll be getting a bit brisk out there as well with a northerly breeze.
Yeah, the semi-final, you play in the final, and sometimes you can just, it's a one-off game, you've made it, and if you lose the one-off game, then you'd be disappointed because you haven't won the trophy, but just the way it is. But semi-final, you always have that. It's the worst game to lose, that regret of not even getting there.
Goes Moeen, bowls, and he lets that go outside the off stump. I was thinking here, a random thought, but I've got a horrible feeling my wife again with the day might have taken that fleece home with her.
Well, has it been washed recently? Would you want to sit next to you?
It's going to be chilly. Commentary continues here, but Radio 4 Longwave listeners, it's time for your shipping forecast. That'll be a bit of a blow. I remember the conversation. You're going to need to drive back in that, and I think I said no. It's going to be cold out there tonight.
Well, We promised up the kids camping this summer holidays.
Are you?
So we're...
Where are you going to go?
We're starting off with the back garden on Saturday night.
Sort of get them used to it. Here's Root, and that's flicked away out into the leg side. He wants 2 here, but he won't get it because Moen's going to pick the ball up. So Coley looking busy, goes to 34. That's probably a good idea.
It's actually, I think they're having a couple of friends over as well.
You sleeping out there too?
Well, I think what's going to happen is that the friends' family are coming over and having a big load of sleepover, and I think it might be the kids and the dads in the tent.
Really?
And then the wives in the double duvet.
Very sensible. That's flicked away by Pujara for a single, the deep mid-wicket. 192 for 2. Not sure that's perfect preparation for a first-class match, Alistair, if I'm honest.
Well, I've got another day, haven't I? Another day of preparation. You'll see what I do on Monday, and I no doubt you'll text with either laughing at me or whatever.
I don't think you'll get much sleep by the sounds of it.
No. But I can always, once the kids are asleep, I can sneak into the house, can't I?
Very sensible. Here's Root over the wicket, bowls short, but it does turn though. And Coley gets a bit of a tangle there as that spun back at him from outside the off stump. Root smiling again, and these overs are disappearing. This is the 74th. As Root again moves in, bowls. He's whipped the bails off there, didn't he? Or he tried to, Butler. They really spun. And actually, I thought Butler whipped the bails off. In fact, he didn't take it cleanly, and the ball flew off down to backward square leg.
I thought he bowled him. I thought it
might be a missed chance. Let's have a look. He stretched forward. It spun, massively. Straight over the stumps. Moment of real fortune there. It really did grip. And they got a bye for that. It surprised everybody. 193 for 2. Root again over the wicket, bowls, and Pujara goes back and plays a nice stroke to backward point. But doesn't get a run for it. 193 for 2.
Yeah, that turned massive. When in a classic off-spinner's delivery, beating the inside edge, it just went bounced too much.
Root again, bowls, and he's down the pitch and then just kicks that away. And welcome back to our long wave listeners. 193 for 2. You've missed a ball that spun very sharply. And the news that Alistair Cook's spending a night out in the garden, a tent over the weekend. But other than that, you've missed little. 193 for 2 is the score, and they're playing here in this poor light, really chipping away at the overs. They're counting down now to when England can take a second new ball. So it's been quite a useful exercise from that perspective. With 6 overs to go at the moment, there's still half an hour to go. So they could get that down virtually to, if they stay out there, to take it the start of play tomorrow. Moen's on his way. Bowls. That's Coley on the back foot, unfussily flicking him away for a single to Overton, who's back on the field now at deep mid-wicket. 194 for 2.
It's been a brilliant fight back from India, hasn't it?
It has.
A real resolve, and just never know Test cricket, don't you?
Still 2 days to go.
And that lead was 350 and now 160.
Moen bowls again, down the pitch comes Pujara. Definitely no doubt about that one. And Curran fields.
And he
fist
celebrates.
is raised to our left.
There's plenty of cricket left in this game. I mean, full credit to India. It's been tough batting conditions as well, hasn't it? It hasn't been easy. And the ball swung. Oh no, what's happening?
Overton's down over there. He's lying. He's got some cramp, maybe. But he's sitting down. He's holding his ankle. And Curran's gone to see if he's okay. Now, what's happened there? He was pointing somewhere off the field and is limping.
I think he's saying about the drain. Is there a drain holes? He just turned his ankle on that edge.
I think he has. And he wasn't running very fast because it was only sort of clipped more or less straight at him. But yeah, he seems to have certainly ricked his ankle there. Not a full sprain or anything, but he's turned it a little bit. Out there in the deep, Moen's on his way. Bowls, and Coley forward, smothers the spin. And Root fielded slip. Alistair, good luck. Thanks for your company over the last few days. And
thanks, Alex. Yeah, I didn't realise this was my last.
Yeah, there you go.
I think last for summer as well. Got 4 games of cricket left.
Good luck in those anyway. This is flicked away into the leg side and Hamid fields.
Thanks for having me, Aggers.
I shall be monitoring your progress. 195 for 2. 2 balls to go in the over. Moen again, swings his arm, comes in, tosses that up, and he's driven the bottom hand there to deep cover. One more to Virat Kohli, who's looked very determined from the moment he came in. 36 now from 80 balls. The story really for India is that Pujara has returned to form. And Moen moves in and bowls to him. Worked away into the leg side, doesn't beat mid-wicket though. Burns running around there quickly does the fielding. And that's the end of the over. 196 for 2. 5 overs until the second new ball. That's 158 therefore. The deficit. Ebony's back.
Hello. There's a lot going on, isn't there?
A lot going on.
Yeah. I was just having a little look at the WinViz predictor. 86% England, as you'd expect. The new ball, I think, that will have an impact. After that, though, if there's a bit of resistance after that, I'll keep an eye on that WinViz.
Yeah.
We've seen some strange cricket.
That's one of I think the light might just have improved a little bit too. It goes Root, bowls, bullets again spins, but it's too short this time, and Coley can send it away to backward square leg. So I just wonder if they do bowl these 4 overs after this.
Could they get a seamer on?
They might be able to get the seamers on and take the new ball in light that's dodgy. Root again, Coley forward, picks up a single out into the covers. So what Root, I'm sure, will do when they get to 80 overs completed is say to the umpires, right, can I now bowl a quick bowler? The interesting thing will be if the umpires say if they do, we'll take you off. They're picking up runs fairly easily here. There's Root again, and Pujara's down the pitch and just pads that away. Whether Root thinks I don't want to give them any more runs, we'll come back tomorrow with the new
shut
ball.
Up shop, and then go all in.
Yeah.
Night of rest.
So we'll say yes, we're going to bowl Jimmy, and the umpire say, well, in that case, we're going to go off. In goes Root, short and wide of the off stump, and Overton fields out there at deep cover. That might be in Root's mind here, because they are picking up these runs, and they're nibbling away at that deficit. All these things go on, don't they? All these subplots. Root bowls over the wicket. That again turns sharply. Kohli thinks about a single, but Pujara sends him back. 198 for 2. Kohli, bundle of energy out there, twiddling his bat. Waits now as Root bowls. So again, it's a bit too short, and just flick that away easily with the spin. Out to Moen on the deep square leg boundary. Another over comes to an end. So let's see where this goes. But that's 76 overs that have been bowled, so the new ball is 4 overs away, and then we'll see what England do at that moment. Ebony, I'm going to leave you. That was brief, and Alison is coming in here.
Yeah, so lots of thinking over the next Test matches. Of course, England's dream scenario would have been to get early breakthroughs and make those inroads, but India have had other ideas. It was unlikely they were ever going to collapse in the fashion that we saw before, but what they have shown is resistance, Ali.
Yep, here is Moeen in, and Coley is stroking him out towards the deep cover boundary to take a single, which brings the 200 up for India with 8 wickets in hand. They have been nibbling away at this deficit. They trail by 154 still, but getting 200 on the board for only 2 wickets down is a fine effort, given what happened before. Looking to work this into the onside. Pujara, it's a dot ball, but yeah, built on 2 substantial partnerships. First Pujara and Rohit Sharma, and now Pujara and his captain Coley. But with the lights on, the spin is continuing. Short leg retreating a little deeper here for Pujara on 84, and Moeen over the wicket with his off spin, coming forward, bat and pad close together. Half an appeal from Jos Buttler as Hamid caught the ball at short leg, just raised his wicket-keeping glove in the air.
If the game does go deep, this spin could get quite interesting.
Yeah, it could, couldn't it? Pitch drying up.
Just saw a bit of turn there.
Moeen in again. Pujara coming forward out of his crease, whips it to Rory Burns at mid-wicket. He needs to be careful here because Jos Buttler has performed one little very quick whip of the bails when Coley was batting, and Pujara is skipping down to Moeen. This time, though, he goes back, works it into the onside and finds Rory Burns no run. I really liked Coley's body language. He's been at the crease. He's positive, really confident demeanour. A little quick at that time from Moeen, outside the off stump, into the gloves of Butler, left alone by Pujara, and it ends the over. So the deficit is 154 with India 200 for 2. Pujara on 84 now, and Coley on 39. So what have we had? 77 overs have been bowled with this ball. So we may only get another 3 perhaps in the day if Root insists that he would like to take the new ball and effectively bring on the quicks, and the umpires would say no, that's it. We'll see what happens. And certainly to be able to come out straight away in the morning, new ball, fresh bowlers.
It's definitely brightened up, hasn't it?
It has lightened up a little bit. Root in again now. Coley going back, covering his off stump with a slip in place and a short leg. Root fields off his own bowling. Now, England could do with this dark cloud just shifting out the way in 3 overs' time. And see if they can have a little assault at the end of the day. But they've got 2 batsmen well set together. Coley facing up to Root outside the off stump. Real swish of the wrists from Coley on the drive out to deep cover, where Overton waits for the ball to come to him. He underarms it back towards the middle, and a single is taken. I looked a little bit disconcerting a few moments ago when Craig Overton seemed to roll his ankle in the deep. And England could do without another fast bowler going down, but he's still out there. Root in, forward is Pujara padding it away, taking a quick single out into the offside. Is there some bat there as well? Bat and pad close together. It's given us a run to Pujara, 201 for 2. But again, there's turn.
I think it was pad then onto the bat. He's been intentful, positive.
Root's in, Coley forward, back up the pitch. Root picks up off his own bowling. And no run. Gives the ball a spin between his fingers. Looks back to the end of his very short mark with that white flannel poking out the back of his trousers. In now, drops it back of a length, and Coley pulls him out towards a deep mid-wicket boundary for 4. Moeen is out there, but Moeen is at mid-wicket. Coley went square enough to evade him. He moves on to 44, and another little bite is taken out of the deficit.
He tried a leg spinner there, just tried to change it up, and just came out wrong, ended up a bit of a short gift, really.
Root again outside the off stump, conventional off spin. He tried one a little while ago, didn't he? And it came out as a full toss. So it's something that he's not quite perfected, but he's trying it nonetheless. And the deficit's under 150 now. It's 148. India 206 for 2. So another 2 overs until his second new ball is available, and we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, because otherwise for the spinners at the moment it's looking just too easy to milk runs, and then let's say they got another 5 or 6 overs just ticking over 4 runs and over. That starts to get them much closer to trailing by only around 120, 125.
Yeah, Root's not very happy at the moment. Just at the way the run scoring has been gentle but serene, but quite consistent. This is pulled away through the onside. It's almost taken out square leg umpire. It's gone for 4. Bit of a rolling commando roll, I think, there from Richard Kettleborough. I think he managed to get out of the way, but he had to react, well, late, maybe a little belatedly. Oh, he went one way and then went the other. That almost took his head off.
Oof, that was straight at his head. I have to give him credit. He kind of left-right duck.
Had some style. But more to the point, it's runs, and now Pujara forward. Dot ball into the onside where Burns fields, and Pujara's on to 89. What a story for him. There's Moeen. There he's in now, a little quicker, and Pujara very upright, plays it up to Burns once more. And no run. Will he get to 100 tonight? And the overs available in the light that's available. Moeen is in. He's padding this one away outside the off stump. And Butler raises his right arm aloft more in a questioning manner. And cries came from the Barmy Army, I feel, more than on the field. It's been quite an innings from Pujara. Real backs to the wall stuff. He's been busy. Turned over the strike, scored when available. Oh, but that has come off a... Is it inside edge, outside edge? It's gone past Butler, running away towards the fine leg boundary. Pujara's coming back for the second. It won't be 3. And Coley had completed It was byes given. Coley had completed the second and was turning and looking to come back, but Pujara hadn't even got back for 2 at that point.
Yeah, just having a look here. Was it outside edge, just missed and then went through Butler, really. Between his legs, and then he kind of kicked it.
Moeen's pulled out of his run. 212 for 2, 142 behind. Only 2 wickets to have fallen. Rohit Sharma, LBW to Robinson for 59. That was after KO Rahul was well caught by Bairstow, one-handed off Overton. Defending again, Pujara on a line outside off stump from Moeen. He bowled it in fuller length, and 212 for 2 then. So Overton a wicket taker, Robinson a wicket taker, but that has been it. He managed to get a wicket on the stroke of lunch earlier when KO Rahul was out. Now the other spin option, of course, is David Malan, who is currently fielding at backwards square leg. And whether that would be worth a go. 5 overs remaining in the day. This is now the 80th over being bowled by Joe Root. So we've had 79. And you imagine they are going to have to continue with spin given the light. Forward comes Coley running off the outside edge of the bat out towards the gully region where it's fielded. Well, Malan's just swinging his arms there.
Yeah, just looking at who is warming up. It's not the seamer.
So he bowls leg spin, doesn't he, David Malan? Roots in now, Coley forward, getting right out to the pitch of the ball. Gets such a good stride in.
He's looking so comfortable, isn't he? Helmet off, cap on, moving the feet well.
Root moves in. Floodlights, gloomy evening at Headingley. Going back, Coley to a ball outside off stump. Root picking up off his own bowling. Yeah, gloomy sort of scene. You're right, the shadows beneath the players' feet not quite as pronounced, Ebony, are they, at the moment?
Definitely a little bit brighter. I would argue not much different than, say, 4 o'clock now.
In goes Root. Coley goes back, turns it to mid-wicket. It's a misfield from Bairstow, and they're going to run 1. Bairstow, I think, thought that Moeen was standing a little closer to him than he was in the deep. Managed to scamper through. Bairstow having taken such a brilliant one-handed catch yesterday. That was quite a regulation piece of fielding, unless the ball just bobbled off the square.
He didn't get down low enough. He kind of, you know when you close the eyes and hope it doesn't pop on you.
In goes Roots, forward. Oh, there's a full-blooded attempt at a drive along the ground through extra cover. Could be 4. Overton's chasing after it, gets down to it well, saves the boundary. And coming back again for 2. And India move on to 215 for 2.
Runs flowing still, aren't they? There's good use of feet. Yeah, had to get quite a way out.
Pujara's into the 90s. Bat and pad close together to this one, Root outside the off stump. He's on 91. That's the end of the over. That's the end of the 80th over then. So, presuming that spin is what's going to have to happen here. We'll keep a close eye on what happens. Do they take the new ball even or just continue with the old with the spin?
I'd be tempted to just rest the seam bowlers and let them come out fresh tomorrow because, well, he's going up to the umpire. Let's see if there is any possibility.
If you can bowl a quick, you're going to take the new ball under lights, aren't you, late in the day?
Of course.
Or is that going to be stumps? So it looks... Are they walking off? Joe Root may well have said to the umpire, I'd like to take the new ball, please, I'll bowl my quick. And they've said, well, in that case, we're calling it stumps. And that is what's happening. 215 for 2. India's deficit 139. Officially bad light has stopped play.
Well, that little session where Root and Moeen were bowling began when Root took over from Anderson. Just 1 run from the first 3 overs of that partnership. But then in the last 8 overs of the day, India managed to accumulate 30 runs without too much pressure. A couple of plays and misses, but that's taken the deficit down to 139. The partnership is now 99 from 32.2 overs.
Well, you have to hand it to Virat Kohli and Cheteshwar Pujara, who are leaving the field, and Kohli has given Pujara a little pat on the shoulder, allowing him to walk off first because he's going to resume tomorrow. 91 not out, and he has really put in a sterling effort with the bat for his team. Backs against the wall, such a huge deficit. He's helped them to take an enormous bite out of the deficit, which began at 354 when India began their innings. But he's had a huge role to play and will come back and want to do the same thing again tomorrow. But England, they searched for wickets, but they've been very hard to come by. And I'm sure, ideally, would Joe Root have liked to have handed a new ball to his quicks under floodlights at the end of the day, but not to be.
Pujara's 91 undefeated. This is his highest score since his last century, which was in the New Year's Test of 2019. Since then, he'd averaged just 27 before this innings.
Well, he's turned it on when he's needed it, hasn't he? It's been very impressive from Pujara. He's looked collected. He's looked quite serene out there. And, yeah, being able to pick off those singles time and time again just meant that almost without realising it, that deficit really came down heavily, didn't it, in the last 45 minutes or so?
Yeah, I like that he was positive early on. And one thing England maybe got wrong to him was bowled at his legs early doors, and his balance was excellent. He picked up 3 or 4 boundaries into that region. That got him going. All of a sudden his strike rate was up at a rate we haven't seen from him for a long time. So he was excellent today. He's given India the resistance they needed and were desperate for after such a poor first innings. I think that's what sport's about for me, seeing players bounce back against a bit of adversity.
Yeah, I mean, James Anderson didn't have his best spells, and we expect such high standards from him, don't we? And when you mentioned Pujara was able to get off the mark, there are a few on his pads that he was able to clip away with ease, and as soon as he got moving, he had that air of positivity, and that undoubtedly would have helped him in his mindset to be out there and to do what he's been able to do for India. Yeah. I'll let you ponder that, Ebony, and then Jonathan Agnew will be with us for close of play here.
Yeah, still intriguing how Jimmy Anderson has gone in these second innings and just struggled to get the wickets compared to his first, where he's just sort of cashed in and run through them. So yeah, hopefully he can get a bit of a rest. He'll be excited by the new ball prospect, and if he can get it swinging depending on the morning conditions as well, then that might be a chance for England just to shake it up, because at the moment India have calmed the threat down.